Mark my words that as soon as this video is accomplished, I have done everything that I want to do with this discussion, whether it's 1 hour or 2 hours or however long it ends up being, because I'm going to hit everything. We're hitting all of the points. We're going to hit 1v1 and 3v3 and co-op and campaign and the community interactions and the monetization. We're going to hit what's good and what's bad and what's ugly. And unfortunately, a lot of it has been covered with a lampshade so that we can see the brightness of it and see that it could have been something, but the bulb is a bit dim and it's not going to be a positive experience overall. But I am going to take this entire thing, provided that we get to, and that we don't have some weird interruptions or something like that happen. It's going to go on YouTube. We're gonna leave it up there because nobody wanted this to work more. Well, I was one of the most ardent supporters, right? I was the vanguard for this game, along with many other people who saw this and clung to it and saw the good news, and they saw what kind of game this was and the names that were behind it, and they really wanted to believe that this was going to be it. This is going to be the next thing. This is going to be successful. This is going to be what everyone wanted. This is going to be the thing that was going to kickstart off their RTS careers. Like, I come from a smaller game. I wanted to have this be the thing that I watched all of the tournament games for and catch up live on the ground. I wanted to play a lot. But unfortunately, there's so many pieces here to a bunch of jigsaw puzzles that you not only don't have the picture of, but it's not even clear that you have all of the pieces to them in the first place. And with so many questions that have been raised, I can in good faith say that I want to continue supporting this game. Like, it's just not what I thought it was going to be. So we're going to put all the cards on the table, and the first thing that we're going to put on the table after that disclaimer are going to be some qualifiers. You need to know where I stand, because you need to know what might be impacting my thinking so that you can take it and go forward. Because even though this is going to be a very well thought out, very lengthy conversation, that doesn't mean you have to agree with it, right? You can pick and point and prod and find things that you dislike about it, and that's perfectly understandable. And I'm going to make sure that you have the tools to do that in an informed fashion if you feel that that is appropriate and you still want to go to bat for this game. But unfortunately, I think you're trying to pinch hit for something when it's already 9 runs down and it's in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs already coming your way, and you've never played a professional game before. So here's my qualifiers, right? How do you know I wanted this game to succeed? I was yet another multi-time Diamond, one-time Masters, StarCraft 2 Terran player. No, not the season where if you lost 4 games in a row and your opponent left before you, everyone got Masters in 2022 or something like that. I actually hit Masters one time. So I was very excited between that and coming from an RTS background to see this be a successful game. How do you know that I wanted that? Well, in addition to the fact that I made dozens of videos and streams before, so here's how much I want this game to work. When Stormgate had 0 channels on average, I was the one who, by dint of playing it, or not watching it, and reviewing the games, and reviewing the maps, and thinking about it, and analyzing it, I was the first one to push the average channel number on Twitch for Stormgate from 0 to 1. That was me. I am the one. I am that guy, as it were. Now, how do you know this? Well, I didn't sign up for the beta and I didn't back the Kickstarter, so how do I know that I've actually put in this in good faith? During Steam Next Fest, I took the week off of work, off of my last job, so even if you link this and they find it, I don't care anymore. Out of my last job, I took the 7 days of Steam Next Fest that were available off for the whole purpose of playing the game, getting as good at it as I could, streaming it as much as I could, and I wanted to do something that I had seen the player Naniwa talk about in an interview that he did once, where he said that when he went to Korea, he was getting absolutely fucking smashed by like B-teamers or something like that, and he went to go play like, or maybe this is related secondhand by someone like Thorin, I think that's the case. He went and he played 50 games a day, and I was like, holy shit, I don't even know if that's possible for me. So what I did is I went from never playing the game before. I immediately, first thing I did, logged in, made a spreadsheet of all of the units, all of their damage types, the values they have, the attack point that they have, everything that I could possibly math out, distributed it to other content creators. No, you don't get to know who they are, but if you're listening and you are one of those people, you know I'm telling the truth, right? And then the second thing I did immediately after that is I went and I played ladder. I played 50 games every single day. I watched the replays as often as I thought it was necessary. I watched other, during off hours when I wasn't on stream, I watched other higher level, more powerful, more capable RTS players play. And if you look, if you were to go to LuminiteGG or Stormgate World, and don't worry, we're going to mention how they got fucked, you would see that I have 300 plus ranked games in 6 days. That is fucking insane. insane. And the only reason I didn't have more than that is that I went from playing 50 ranked games a day to participating in the EGC 10K. Now, I won't say that I competed. I think the difference between participation and competition is that anyone can participate in something, but competition implies a level of rigor, a level of power, a level of ability to, force your way, be a serious contender. I was not a serious contender. I was like a Diamond 3, Diamond 2, 1681 MMR shitter who got to like round of 64 or something like that when it was best of 3, and I got fucking sock and boppered, more fun than a pillow fight, by a guy with 300 APM who just showed me that exos are the best thing ever, actually, and I played it in a very embarrassing and poor fashion, and then that person also ended up losing. But I do know some of the people from other communities that I've been part of who were part of that top 16, and here's another thing that I did, how you know that I cared about this game. Before the stream was live, before Steam Next Fest, before 300 games in 6 days, which none of you have played, almost none of you have even conceived of putting in that much time, ever, in anything, ever. And I took time out of my own life to go ahead and do that. So what I did before that is I asked every content creator I could, if I was allowed, to go ahead and look up their videos. I asked Mana, and I asked Artosis, and these are people that I asked in this videos that say it on record, so that's perfectly fine. There's even more people that I asked if I could watch their replays, if I could see their games, if I could get the cast, if I could just get the file, or if I could use their stream because I wasn't in the beta and I couldn't access the client, if I could go watch their stream, pause, pick through it to try and figure out builds. And I wrote those builds up and I sent them out on Twitter. I disseminated them to people like Asocial, who is the individual behind LuminiteGG, who got completely fucked, by the way. I went and did all of this and then sent the results of that, in addition to linking to those people, sent the results of that back to those content creators so they could make use of that information if they wanted to, right? Then, when the game actually released, I went and I played, and I have played something now like 250 ranked games. Again, the first thing I did is I went in for all of the factions and I made a spreadsheet and I disseminated the information out of that spreadsheet. This was before the August 8th patch that most of you know of. This is when Kree were absolutely hilarious against Celestials. I was watching people like Probe get completely destroyed. I had watched multiple tanks, multiple the Alpha Navigator Cups by Attico, and by other people. I had watched the DreamHack showcase. I had watched the EGC 10K. I had watched the tanks when I was finally in the game and could watch the replays myself live that had been collected over that period of time. I watched all of the channels that you could possibly see on YouTube, trying to get any additional information that I could. In addition to that, I streamed the game, played like 225, 250 more ranked games. I'm currently sitting as a D2 1750 MMR player, which is appropriate because I was a shitter diamond player / sometimes masters, and now I am once again a shitter diamond player. But I don't think you play 450 bearing near to 500 ranked games for a game that you're hoping dies out and you hoped isn't good and you think is terrible and you want to see fail. So if you don't believe that, I then went and I played co-op. In fact, go back and look at the Elephant patch review notes that I did on my YouTube channel, which this will be linked to later, but if you don't have it, and someone asks, I can go send it now. On my YouTube channel, here's how much I cared about not just being a 1v1 try-hard guy and seeing the whole product and wanting this to rise and lift all the boats. And I didn't realize that I was actually asking for a tsunami because I thought they were raising the water levels for all of the ships that are docked at pier. But unfortunately, this is a boat that is spinning 180 and is competing for the Titanic. Now, here's the problem right that, right? I then went and I decided, what if I go into co-op? And I went into brutal missions. I picked blockade. I went up to level 7. And then the point I was making about the patch notes before is I cared enough about the other aspects of the game that weren't the endemic casters, and I'm not saying those people did anything wrong in this facet, by the way, but I didn't see most people making comments about how balanced Malik was when he got added to the game and Blockade had been in previously, or about his mana efficiency issues, or about his top bar abilities, or anything like that. In my Elephant review, I had people making negative YouTube comments because I took an hour to try and figure out not the balance patch that I cared the most about, but actually, in addition to that, what would happen in co-op? What were the changes that were going to be happening in there? Now, how else do you know that I actually cared? Well, in addition to the fact that I'm now 1750 MMR on that, I have written up multiple Reddit posts. Now, that you can say, like, oh, anyone can write up a Reddit post. You know that popular idea that's on the Reddit right now, which is like, why don't we have a prologue where we play as Amara's dad? That was my idea. Thank you. When people talk about the bad writing, that was me. Yes, Giant Grant Games in Day 9 said that, oh, it's really bad in Mission 3 that you get access to this infiltrator unit that sabotages and steals buildings, and then the first thing you run into is a building you can't sabotage or steal. I came up with that point publicly before they did. I was writing out inconsistencies in the story and in the writing over this giant page, right? Other things that I did for the game that people might not know of. If it weren't for me, EGC 10K would have had all of you fighting the first 3 rounds of their $10,000 tournament as best of one during broken as fuck Scout Beryllium Claws meta on Titan's Causeway. Now imagine if you're an Infernal player because it wasn't Celestial, or if you just didn't understand the scale of what's going on right there, and you pick Titan's Causeway and you didn't grind enough as I did to get that good seed, and you're fighting someone who is comparable in knowledge of RTS and is otherwise pretty strong, and you fucking find out the first map is Titan's Causeway. For anyone who has a bad memory, here's why that was a fucking terrible decision, and I'm glad I called it out. The reason that was a fucking abysmal decision is that Titan's Causeway, up to the point of that game, for people who weren't in the beta, that had not been a single game played on Titan's Causeway, no one had seen any replays of Titan's Causeway, no one had actually even seen the map so they could have full vision of the map. That's Titan's Causeway. That was 3 rounds that I just saved, literally 512 to 1,024 players of my own time. You know what else I did on my own time to prove that I care about this game? And I didn't make this stream for the full purpose of like, well, I barely played the game, but fuck it, right? I actually went and read the rulebook. Yeah, every player right now who was part of that Steam Next Fest tournament, you can thank me for that. Some of them actually have, if you're a shitter on Reddit or somewhere like that, who said, hey, it's just another guy being a piece of shit about the game, it's just a negative Nancy. Here's a negative Nancy. I wasn't a negative Nancy. I was fucking Amelia Bedelia on this bullshit. I fucking fucked everything up about that rulebook and then fixed it all right at the end because I had that fucking killer lemon meringue pie known as analysis. I fucking drew everything correctly on that and found out that actually, hey, did you know about the best of ones? Did you know what the timing was? Did you know that it's actually going to break down this way? Hey, to people who were, and I'm not going to name the names, but you were in the Discord, you saw me talk about this, and you thanked me about this afterwards. For anyone who was at the larger StarCraft event, right? And had to use that to qualify. I bet you're really happy now that I pointed out all of the fucking conflicts of interest that were going to happen because of the super late start time of the EGC 10K. And I didn't say that at all when it came out live, did it? I didn't fucking say a goddamn thing about how that was an absolute travesty on day 1 and a fucking nightmare. And I can still tell you horror stories that would make your ears bleed and curl backwards. But that I will keep safe, even though, because that's not actually Frostgiant's fault. That's not anyone else's fault. But these are the things that I found out that other people did not know, and I went through the effort to go discover. So when this hits Reddit or Twitter, or it fucking dies on the vine and someone finds it in 6 months, or it just fucking withers away to 27 views and no one sees it again, however this gets out there, if any one person watches this, you need to know over the last 10 minutes, I have put my fucking credentials on the line for the shit that I have done for this game. I have watched games, played games, made suggestions, fucking quietly corrected things that could have been a giant PR nightmare, right? Hey, here's one. All of you casual RTS fans who are getting in and are playing Stormgate, do you like that the bottom range is called Bronze? Do you know what it was called before? It was called Aspirant. You would literally be called Ass or an Aspie for being terrible at the game. This from a company that wanted to attract people who were from the League of Legends community and who would know what Iron is, or from the StarCraft 2 community and would know what Bronze is, but somehow just having the name Ass was apparently fine for them. That somehow passed all of the HR filters and the PR filters. Somehow. Don't worry, though. That was changed. I purely coincidentally, after I made a giant stink of it and Reddit fucking upvoted it, because people on Reddit want to think that they're responsible for what happens in change when what they're really responsible for is putting upvotes and downvotes on something that expresses community sentiment. And then that degree of community sentiment as a gauge of karma is the thing that gets changed. So no one can doubt what I have done for this game or what I have tried to fix for this game or the hours that I have put into this game. Not least because I'm not over here with any delusions that the game that I come from or that the side hustle that I have is in any way ever going to eclipse the $40 million or the $32 million or the $20 million, depending on how you actually judge it, of Frost Giant Studios. And I'm going to tell you, now that that has all been said and done, this game is not a worthy successor to StarCraft 2. This game is not a worthy successor to WarCraft 3. This fucking game is not a worthy game of my home game that was made 10 years ago by a single German guy fucking around over his summer and winter break to learn how to make his first HTML5 game. His fucking first HTML5 game with code written in a fucking spaghetti pattern that would cause you to have epileptic shock the first time that you see it, because it's in this horrible combination of solo dev English plus German, right? And it has been a nightmare for other people to look through, yet that game has more features and is more feature complete. This game was not a worthy successor to one guy's indie project a decade ago in a browser game that is primarily hailed for the fact that it's a free Blizzard-style RTS when it was derivative even in 2014. So let's fucking go off about all of the things. We're going to hit every area of Stormgate, but I actually think the comparison is going to be sick. So think about this. How is Stormgate as a comparator to LittleWarGame, a fucking free browser RTS game that you can find right now? Anything except Opera that you want, and this is not an ad for that game. I just come from that community. It makes the comparison more compelling, right? Let's go over the things that Frost Giant Studios was somewhere between $23 and $40 million, depending on how you judge valuation and how much you believe in the series funding and how much you think they got as a cut of Steam, etc. How is that holding up? Let's go ahead and take a look. Thankfully, I have notes because I've been fucking taking notes in my head so long that I could just shit them out on a page and immediately start styling on you. So here we go. Stormgate is not a next-gen spiritual successor. In fact, get the idea of next-gen spiritual successor, Frost Giant Studios, out of your head and out of the heads of all the players who are playing this. I'm tired of seeing that the RTS genre is back because someone's got a spiritual successor. You need to go make a last-gen physical predecessor because this is not fucking it, right? Everything, first off, just on the surface, right? To call yourself Frost Giant Studio. Okay, we're back. That won't be in the YouTube. If you wonder why there's a smash cut because it's like Shrek, somebody once. All right, anyway, so now that we've done that, let's get this out of the way. So, Stormgate is not a next-gen spiritual successor. It is not even a last-gen physical remnant of StarCraft 2, WarCraft 3, or even LittleWarGame. So Stormgate is not, in fact, piloted by Frost Giants. It is piloted by a McFlurry. It comes out of a broken machine that was made after the more successful Blizzard. Right? You are not looking for an Elden Ring moment. You've got characters that look like they come out of Lovecraft and are representing the Elder Sign. Okay? This is not it. So let's go into every single little nitpicky thing because guess what? It turns out product quality is a sum of the whole. And even if you say well, actually this part is pretty good, I'm going to show that it's not. Yes, that means, and we're going to wait till we get to 1v1. You know that thing that everyone says it's good enough. It's going to get better. We're going to fucking demolish that too. Let's just have a small list, shall we? Now, imagine if you're making a game in 2024, it's coming out, you've got millions of dollars behind it. Let me tell you some of the features that your game is missing, Stormgate, that actually is held inside of a browser game made in one summer/winter by a German guy learning the programming language that he's making it in. Oh, but to be fair, right? That's not entirely fair. We have to give a couple of purely volunteer, non-professional artists and some people who got their bachelor's or master's in mathematics or computer science. That makes up the difference of not being Blizzard industry veterans or having their name attached to some of the largest RTS titles ever spawned. Don't worry, I'm sure Jibs and the time of some volunteers is going to stack up poorly. So here are some things that aren't in Stormgate that are in LittleWarGame. You're going to love this. So first thing is replay features. You know how everyone is just snuggling, coping up, gathering a blanket of copium because they're like, well, actually, Stormgate has some problems, but the 1v1 is sick. Is it fuck? So, what's the number one thing you want when you lose a 1v1 game? You might want to watch the replay to see where you went wrong. You might want to know how many production structures your opponent has. It might be useful to know what the timing is of your upgrades. It might be cool to have a units tab so you can see that actually I had 9 scouts and my opponent had 10, and prepare for more of that because they didn't nerf the scout. Enjoy that Vanguard mirror, by the way. So maybe you would want some replay features. How about the replay feature of being able to pause? You could do that in Stormgate. Fast forward, you could do that in Stormgate. But then when you stop fast forwarding and you slow down the speed, the replay doesn't just keep going like it's on a runaway track that like Clark Kent's got to quickly change into Superman to fucking defend, right? No, you don't actually have that in Stormgate. You don't have a unit counter. You don't have a production structure counter. You don't actually have really good obvious tools. Can you click on a unit and gracefully follow it in Stormgate? No. You can in LittleWarGame. Do you have access to the camera so you can see what the players are looking at? So you can see if someone's attention was dragged away, or really appreciate the player cam and they're multitasking? No, you can't do that. What? Can you like at least zoom out and like you can in the free-to-play game of StarCraft 2? Yes, the fact that it's free-to-play means you're still competing with it, by the way. You can zoom out in LittleWarGame because you just hold control and back wheel, in fact. It actually minimizes the things, which has the effect of causing a grander scale so you can see more popped out information from it. Can you do that and get access to a quarter of the map at once? No, go fuck yourself. You can't do that inside of Stormgate either. And you're supposed to tell me that we're going to practice a 1v1 game. Look, people's money is on the line. People's ability to improve is on the line, which tangentially for some people leads to money. And you look at these replay features and they're getting outdone by a browser game done by one guy learning and some volunteers 10 years ago. What? I'm not even going to get into the stuff that is unrelated to both games, like the fact that the formatting of this is really terrible. Sharing it is really hard. Also, the date timestamp that you've got on old replays, might want to work on that because that's not actually as solid as you think it is, right? So I'm supposed to improve in a 1v1 game. Oh, also, hey, you know what's crazy? In LittleWarGame, when I watch a replay, in a JSON file, by the way, not in a custom editor, not in Snowplay, not using the tools of Unreal Engine 5, which has the full, by the way, we're going to get back to this, but you have the full access of stuff like Ryan Laley and Matt Asplund and Reed's channel, who are literally professional individuals at helping make stuff in Unreal Engine 5, and you have access to the whole Unity tree. Guess what we have to help compensate all of these things and add in these new features inside of LittleWarGame? Jibs' API from a defunct blog post that he made about 8 years ago. But don't worry, it's totally fine that in LittleWarGame, when I speed up and back out units, the units don't fucking disappear. Oh shit, but they do that in Stormgate. So you literally can be watching a replay, pause, go back earlier in the replay, and you're like, wait, how did I lose this fight? Oh, don't worry. It's just because your opponent had like 3 invisible Magmadons or 4 Cabals that you can't see because they've just disappeared from the replay. But you're supposed to now exit the replay, go back in the replay, watch the whole thing from scratch, and don't fuck up and exceed that point because you might hit the back button and then find out that actually that doesn't work as well as you thought it could. That's pretty cool. I love that. That's great. That's ignoring the fact also that in 1v1, I'm going to say this, if you are practicing a lot in 1v1, so if you're bad, you won't realize this, right? But as you get better at 1v1, you hit these periods where your learning is curving off and you want to improve. How would you improve? Well, one of the things you could do in the replay is you could click a unit and figure out what its upgrades are. Maybe find out what it does. What's that unit's base damage? Is that unit do 12 damage but bonus 3 to heavy? In LittleWarGame, we have this crazy thing called the catapult. It has different damage values, and you can actually see in the tooltip what damage it's doing against what unit, and it's in a bright fucking color so that you can tell that it's plus, the snake has minus 3.5 against or 1.5 against flying. It's in a red marker. That's really fucking cool. Any casual person could click the unit and figure out what it can do in the replay. Can you do that in Stormgate? Well, Stormgate is trying to be a next-gen spiritual successor to the failures of what one guy could manage to accomplish in his single house, in his single apartment. So no, no, you don't have access to those tools in the replay. And then people say, right, so we'll just keep on from replays because I could stick on replays for 30 minutes. Here's a couple of things for ranked. Hey, I want a ranked system. What do I care about? Now let's think about this, right? Bare minimum level, what does a ranked player care about? They want to see if they won or lost, and they want their MMR. They want their matchmaking record. They want to see the number that says how good they are. If they're more casual and they're looking at what LS would say is the difference between a pile of shit and a pile of shit with a piece of corn in it, aka their badges, they want those badges to make sense. So you are now in a history. What's crazy is how do you come from Blizzard? And then Blizzard instituted this whole bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster, or at least popularized it. And to the extent that it is in LittleWarGame, right, called something different, it's in League of Legends, literally the genre that was spawned because you, like Blizzard, failed to monetize the golden goose and let it fucking fly off and then procreate with another golden goose that just shits diamond eggs all of the time like a One Piece enemy. Right? So how is it that the spiritual successors of StarCraft 2 didn't understand the basic concept that your ranked badge should probably align to your MMR? Now, you might say, wait, it does. But I'm here to destroy your fucking copium. Because here's why it doesn't. I was 1745, 1750. That's Diamond 2. That's about the MMR that I should be. Let's go look at the top 500. Oh, the top 500 is by ranked points. Now you might ask, what are ranked points? Ranked points are the unholy fusion of StarCraft 2's bonus pool applied by somebody who has no understanding of what more casual players want from their ranked pool. And here's what it causes. I'm a new player to Stormgate, but I'm secretly a top 10 grandmaster in my server in StarCraft 2. I start playing. I immediately go to about 1900 MMR, 1850, 1900 MMR, and I'm climbing. Well, unfortunately, you only win a set number of ranked points for every game that you win, so your badge might show that you're bronze or silver at 223 ranked points. And you know what that means? Because their API favors ranked points, and I secretly suspect that that's on purpose, because Stormgate World, LuminiteGG, and Untapped all show your ranked points over your MMR. I'm sure that that's a coincidence and not something that was asked for or that was put as the priority, right? So what happens is you're a 250 silver player in ranked points who will never be on top 500, even though you're 1900 MMR, and there's people with 1560 MMR who are top 500 according to the rank point system. So your badge says that you're shit. Do you know what happens when you play against those people? Let's say I am playing against the 1900. I have an understanding of the system. I'm currently Diamond 2. I play against the bronze player who's 1900. I get fucking stomped into the ground. Do you know what I would say if I was a more casual person? Why is that person bronze? Am I that shit? Am I so shit that actually I'm not diamond, I'm bronze? Because in StarCraft 2, the much lauded physical predecessor that you come from, your MMR is tied to what your badge color is. There are no people sitting over at 6k MMR in StarCraft 2 who have a fucking gold border unless they deliberately tanked for content. No one. Absolutely no one. So your badge system for ranked doesn't even accurately display what your skill level or your power level is. And the reason this matters is that the whole point of the ranked point system is to make sure that everyone who is in gets rewarded for playing games up to their current MMR. You know what that actually means? The only people who are hitting their ranked points equivalent to their MMR are people who are hard stuck 50% or are below 50% recently on their win rate and have played hundreds of games. Hundreds. Plural. Hundreds. Good system, by the way. Completely confusing to casuals. Serves no benefit to ranked players. It's even worse than that, actually, because the EGC 10K, everyone forgets about this because, why is critical thought easy? It's not. The EGC 10K gave seeds to people based on their ladder ranking. Ladder ranking is based off of ranked points. So if you're a fucking 2K MMR player, who's got fucking 250 ladder points, get fucked, idiot, because you actually have a terrible seed now for any tournament that uses ladder seeding because the ladder prioritizes ranked points. That's why the ranked point system matters. So if you're a hardcore 1v1 player, I hope you don't have any other life except Stormgate, because the second your name isn't big enough to get invited to an event and you have to qualify for an event, you have an insane road ahead of you. Why? For not having the temerity to play literally 200 games, 100 plus games to get up to your ranked points listing. Here are some other things that LittleWarGame has. First off, in WarGame, there's this thing called, it's a revolutionary concept. They only came up with it about 10 fucking years ago. It's called MMR aligns to your badge, aligns to your rank. So, like, okay, before the MMR reset, if you had 0 MMR, you were Div 3. If you had 150 MMR, which is 150 MMR points higher in terms of matchmaking rating, like ELO style stacking, you're Div 2. If you have 225 MMR, you're Div 1. Isn't this fucking a crazy concept? There were no Gamma players, which is the league above Div 1. There were no Div 1 players who had a Div 5 border that makes it look like they're scrubs because it's offset from their MMR. It's a crazy system. You might be able to actually do that. And for anyone who's like, oh, this is going on a bit long, how much longer is it going to be going? Hours. Fucking hours of getting this off my chest, because everything is going to get wrecked. So LittleWarGame has a good system for that. You know what else LittleWarGame has for 1v1? Pathing. Oh yeah, congratulations, Frost Giant. You have built in Unreal Engine 5 with Snowplay, with your own proprietary engine that sits on top of Unreal Engine 5, you somehow have worse pathing for units than in LittleWarGame, a browser game made a decade ago. Let me explain. Now, this is for you, Spartak, and people like you who immediately go to bat for the fact that this is not the case. Do you remember this? Because I remember seeing this. This did happen, by the way. If you take a unit and you try to make it move through a neutral camp or through enemy army units or past your own allied units that are on hold position, the unit will try to squeeze through the crack between two spaces to go forward. Do you know what happens in a normal matchmate or a normal pathing system? I don't know, something that no one's ever heard of, like a Dijkstra, right? Yeah, if you know about games, you know Dijkstra's algorithm for this. Normally, if you try and move the unit through the space and it can't move, it wiggles around a little bit, and then it says, fuck that, and it goes around, right? You seem to be using the network, like the RTS movement equivalent of networking's open shortest path first, where it's like, all right, guys, we're going to go through this spot. Well, you can't. We're still going to go through this spot. Well, you're not. We're still going to go through this spot. And so this causes some fucking hilarious instances of things like your scouts getting, like your Lancer getting blocked by scouts, by your own scouts, your units getting blocked by the health camp. Neutral creeps in general are terrible for this. So you give commands to units and they can't make it to the path. And even though, you now have to readjust your path to send the unit. You know what game didn't do that? StarCraft 2. You know what also didn't do that? Literally a decade-old browser game. How about not lagging on the start of the game? Oh, we're still on ranked. Don't worry. We're going to go over social features, the editor, miscellaneous other items. We're going to hit all 4 of their pillars. We're just going, listen, we're going ham, right? We are taking the pig, getting rid of the pork, and going absolutely ham. How about, I want to play 1v1. Do you know what would piss me off in a 1v1 game? Okay, it would really make me mad if I find out that actually I have 100 more starting resources than I thought I should because I lagged to get into the game and my opponent didn't. Now, fortunately, between Stormgate and LittleWarGame, only one of these games actually has the chance that you would lag into the game like that and be at a severe disadvantage relative to your opponents. Now, I'm sure you could easily guess which one of these games has a lag at the start of the game problem that would be really problematic. It's definitely, hold your horses, the game made in 2024 on a proprietary engine with $40 million. Once again, relatively nameless and left alone German dude fucking wins again. Stella, come here. We're going to take care of my cat. One of my cats just passed, so she's a bit lonely. Come here. Meow. Meow. Nope, you're coming here. Boop. Yeah, so fortunately, Jibs, Johannes Bonnets, you have JB Games underscore on Twitter, who you should follow because he makes good games. Um, Unfortunately, it's crazy, but he actually had uh, not lag ruining the game, which is crazy because actually, here's another one that fucking Stormgate people aren't ready for. LittleWarGame has actually had more tournament prize pool over its life than I've given individually than Stormgate has had. Yeah, that's right. Get absolutely bent. And so there were people who are, people you've never heard of, like people who win or get second place in Nation Wars. Do you know Hydra? You ever heard of Hydra? That guy who was in the EGC 10K who was like top 16 at that tournament minimum. Yeah, he also plays Little War Game. Didn't have any of these problems when he was loading into the game. And I'm not saying that he suggested to me that he was having those problems in Stormgate, but I refuse to believe that there's an MMR threshold you hit where it becomes less annoying that you have less control of your units over the start of the game. Wonderful. So let's go into the next thing. So now let's go into the social features because remember everyone, Stormgate was said to be the most social RTS, the first truly social RTS. And guess what, guys? They've got some banging features. They have clans and customizable profiles and a main lobby chat, and you can chat with other people when you're in custom game. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Once again, I'm thinking of the 10-year-old, decade-old browser game made by a single dude. That inexplicably has all these social features. Do you have a main lobby chat in Stormgate? No. Do you have voice chat? No. Do you have access to lobby chat while you're loading into a custom game? Absolutely not. What if you want to like message a person and add them as a friend? Well, go back to 1998 BattleNet 1.0 because in the grimdark future of 2024, and as a spiritual successor to Blizzard, Stormgate doesn't have access to niceties like adding friends. Now they'll say that they do because they have Steam integration, which is about the only part of Steam that has been integrated into that application, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, don't worry, guys. How do you add friends in Stormgate? Oh, it's completely reasonable. See, what you have to do is you have to go remember the name of the person, then you have to go message that person on Discord or some other site, hope that you find them like fucking playing Where's Waldo as Helen Keller. Then you have to get their Steam friend code, and you or they have to send it, and then you have to accept, and then, yeah, fucking easy. Do you see how much easier that is than hitting /F space A space the person's name? That would be fucking crazy. Imagine in Little Wargame if you could just like click someone who's in the main lobby and add them as a friend right from their profile. No, we have to wait until at least 2014 to come out with that technology. How about private messages? Nope, also have to wait until 2014 for that technology. Clans? I would think the first truly social RTS would have clans. I mean, surely the game that is understanding of the metrics and the behemoth that is WoW, right, would actually have clans in it. This would be like the easiest layup ever. I mean, you claim that you're following Blizzard. Definitely you have clan support, right? No. No, you don't have any of that. You don't have friends lists, you don't have PMs, you don't have lobby chat, you don't have clans. You know what you have? The encouragement that you don't actually want those things in the first place. By the way, how's that aged, Frost Giant? Of all the things you could have grabbed from Blizzard, you grabbed the you think you do but you don't of telling people that they don't want features they're adamant that they want. Now, will you have to wait another 7 years to release WoW Class? To release these social features? I don't know. Who is to say? I don't think your game has 7 years. I don't think your game has 7 months. And neither do you, which is why it was released in early access in the state that it's in. I hope that $1.5 million was worth it. All right, so why weren't these social features put in? What happens? Here's a reasonable use case. I want to talk to people. Now, immediately, you see people who are terminally online who have just abused themselves into the idea that if they ever allow a global chat, all they'll see are racial epithets and politics and people talking mad shit. I'm 34. You can be stupid and young. I am not stupid and I am not young compared to you. Maybe by 44, I will look that way to myself currently, but that's a throne that I get to sit on, and at that point, you get to sit in my lap. So here's something about that, right? You know what? Yes, StarCraft 2 General Chat has that. Here's what I remember from fucking Brood War and WarCraft 3. Messaging people and saying, damn, that was good, or hey, nice record. I remember messaging people in Pogi and asking them how to play. I remember going into clans because you had clan channels like FFC when I was FFC Tacmadius or Mateus, right? I remember all of these things in LittleWarGame. You can send private messages to people. You can BM them. Yeah, you can tell them they're a piece of shit and they play like ass. You can also ask them what that new map is. You can ask them if they want to sign up again. And because also, crazy thought, not everyone in the world has Discord and it has it attached to their desktop 24/7. I know, it's amazing. Also, guys, let's think about this for truly social RTS. Well, we don't have to make that because there's already Discord. All right, before there was Slack for gamers, that's Discord for everyone at home not catching up. There was TS3, and before that there was just regular TeamSpeak, and before that there was IRC chat, before that there was AOL chat, and on and on and on. And if you were from different countries, you had to do some shit like log in through LogMe and Hamachi to make sure that you could even connect to people's servers so you could have a conversation with them. From PMs to voice chat to messages to hell. You think you're the first social you want to be the most truly social RTS, and yet you don't have the ability to add friends without going out to Steam? What the fuck? But that's not the first time that Steam has been kind of completely fucked up. Because since we're talking about the social aspect, let's get off of that and move on to the editor. Now, this is a big thing, right? So again, LittleWarGame, made by a single German dude learning HTML5 in 2014 on his off time before he had made it. First game, like first large project, asking around, hasn't done this before. Frost Giant Studios. $25 to $42 million, UE5, highlighted as an upgrade, like an exciting new Unreal Engine 5 project, all of the community excitement. Which one of them has a better editor? Well, that's a trick question because you can actually use the editor in LittleWarGame, and you can't do that for Frost Giant's Stormgate. Now, it's all well and good saying like, oh, but when they do release it, you'll be able to do the most amazing thing. You would think that people who came from Blizzard would understand that one of the coolest fucking things that happened when Warcraft 3 came out is that they, in the editor, made a custom map called War Chasers, where you just pick a dude and you go in and you go like gauntlet style, fight a bunch of things, level abilities up, and have a good time. And it also was a subtle introduction to the heroes system that was in the game. This game, Stormgate, launched with no custom ability, no custom maps, no arcade mode. It didn't launch with its editor. Now, the excuse that was provided, I think it's an excuse, as we'll see from the general lack of quality that we're seeing in all of these other areas. The excuse that was provided is, oh, that was a bit obtuse to the user, so we didn't want to do that. Get off my fucking lawn. Let me tell you what you can do in LittleWarGame. Again, 10 years old browser game made by a single German dude. Oh, and to be fair, let's give them a couple of guys who are like bachelors or masters in math and have been in the IT space a little bit and know some programming languages they learned on the side for which they're not getting paid. There was a guy who made, LittleWarGame is an editor that is free, first off. You don't have to pay for it, so fucking notch 1 for LittleWarGame, notch 2 for LittleWarGame. It doesn't have a trigger system. For those of you who weren't map making in like 2002, I was, because I'm a fucking grandfather compared to most of you, and my life experience is so unbelievably stacked that even though I'm 6 feet tall, you would need another 6 feet to get out from underneath the fucking dirt pile that I am standing on, so that everyone can see what I've done, right? So in 2002, I was able to make in Brood War a game called Regicide. Do you know how I managed to do that with no programming knowledge? It's because they have trigger boxes, a thing that LittleWarGame's editor doesn't have. Here's what people have made in LittleWarGame in a game that doesn't have basic if-then logic and was only about 2 months ago discovered to have randomization, true randomization, the ability to pick true, false, 0, 1, even, odd, right? One guy made in an RTS, again, top-down RTS, one guy made a chess-like movement grid battle system. Another guy made the best PvP turret defense I've ever played, and I have played all of them. Right? Another guy made a thing called Dungeon Tests, which is literally a top-down RTS. Yeah, Caesar Josephus. Yeah, there's RNG in LittleWarGame now because we're actually able to use it. So I made an entire campaign with triggers, despite there not being triggers. One guy made paintball. One guy made soccer. One guy made American fucking football. One guy made a top-down ARPG version of a World of Warcraft / MMO style raid with boss fights. No if then logic in the entire editor. Still was able to do that. One dude fucking figured out how to make bad apple play in a game that doesn't let you import images, doesn't let you import sounds, YouTube links, or have triggers at all. That's what you could do if there was an editor. Is there an editor in the spiritual successor to StarCraft 2? No. No, there is not. It doesn't exist at all. There's no mods that come with the game to indicate what kind of game you could make with it. Remember when StarCraft 2 came out? When StarCraft 2 came out, you got an RPG that was about a ghost moving around, not Nova. This is when Wings of Liberty came out. You got an RPG with a ghost that showed you how you could make a turn-based Final Fantasy style game with it. WarCraft 3 came out with War Chasers when it came out, right? There was actually a PvP match 3 defense game, right? Nexus Wars, Raid Wars. Is any of that in? You're going to tell me that they've got this super cool editor and no one made a little fun side gig project? They didn't import like Footman Frenzy or some mod they thought were super cool? I call fucking bullshit. And the reason I call bullshit is that I know creative people and I've worked with engineers and developers and I've done it for about 15 years now. And when those people are given bread and a drop of water, they turn it into an oasis because they would rather do something cool. This is a gaming company which is based on the history of games, which comes from people fucking going to different colleges and spreading the code that they have so other people can add manual power-ups, because pre-Git you just had to meet someone who knew how to do all of that, and people distributed this shit through DOS. Frost Giant didn't launch with an editor at all. They didn't even, okay, so they don't even get points for, oh, the editor could be super cool. Exile 2 and Castle of the fucking Winds and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 all launched with an editor, and those are not games from this decade or even the preceding decade. So the fact that there's nothing is suspicious. But let's get into quick play. Let's get into some other items that LittleWarGame has that you just definitely don't have in Stormgate, because $40 million can't buy quality. It can apparently buy people's salaries, though I will make a point. Everyone who's saying, oh, but they could buy so much salary, let me help you out with some basic math. They are spending, according to their SEC filing that somebody looked at, and that was not disputed in any meaningful way, $1 million a month. All of you were complaining about, oh, but the CEOs are getting like $500,000 between the two of them. You don't understand how money works, so let me help you out. $500,000 is actually $243,000 about for both of them, for one each. $240,000 is very often $20K a month. So out of 1,000, I'm going to call a million something different here to make the point. So they're getting paid $24,000. Okay, cool. How much are the CEOs getting paid monthly of that? What's the salary? They're getting $20,000 a month. So that must mean they're taking a big chunk of the salary. You have never seen numbers in a way and then aspired to actually have those numbers. Because you know how much a million is a month? It's 1,000 thousands. So you're complaining about two people taking a grand total of 48 of a thing that there is 1,000 of, and then you think that that's why the whole thing is failing. That is not it. There are many branches you can get on for fruit in this endeavor. That's not one of them. Get off of that shit talking point. Yes, I know this is about Stormgate. This is also about you, right? You at home watching this. Do some critical analysis for yourself. It will help you. So here are some things that are in LittleWarGame. Again, 10-year-old browser game made by a single dude and upkept by pure fucking volunteers versus Frost Giant's $25 to $40 million fiasco. Is there a quick play versus bot? I know that everyone on Reddit is quick to say well, actually, see, what you do is you go into custom, and then when you go into custom, you can fight against a bot, and then you can pick your different buddy bot levels, and then you can pick the difficulty of those and the different factions, and then, see, it's actually, you have to click ready, but then you have to make sure that when you click ready, you're actually ready, and then you have to, lock the thing for, what the fuck is this? Do you know what you do in LittleWarGame? For quick play versus bot, it's called play versus CPU. It's a fucking astounding concept. You left click the button that says play versus CPU. The map list pops up. You pick a map. Immediately you're put into a lobby that other people cannot join. That is your name, the bot as CPU
Team 2 on the other team on the other side. Doesn't work for a bunch of custom maps, works for every melee map in the entire game. But Frost Giant can't do that, so we actually have to have like Sisyphean hoops to jump through. We have to like try and stretch down for the small bit of versus AI that we can get, like we're Tantalus, trying to grab something to drink, but the water just keeps going lower and avoiding us the entire time. Here's some features that they're missing. So the campaign. Now you might say, that's crazy. What do you mean? That's one of their 4 pillars. Of course Frost Giant has a campaign in Stormgate. Do they though? So let's count out. Have you seen how long a speedrun is for Frost Giant's full campaign? Have you seen it? There's one defense mission in Mission 4 that automatically hits a certain time threshold. You want to guess how much time that is? Guess what LittleWarGame has had since 2017? A campaign. You know how I know? I made it. And then Derpo made it. And a guy named Invincible made one. And another guy named Zientage made one. And in fact, multiple people helped contribute to those campaigns. And do you know what the world record is for the official campaign for LittleWarGame? It was set by a guy named Pekka, and it is 34 minutes. Do you know what the world record is for beating Mission 6? Missions 5 and 6, rather? It's something like 5 and 4 minutes. Yeah, that's your $10, by the way. A defense mission that is there at a bad time, and then a grand total of 8 to 9 minutes for missions 5 and 6. What about missions 1 through 3, you might ask? Oh, we're going to get into this, but the difficulty of the campaign is a joke, for reasons that we'll get into. But the design is even worse. So let's go into another thing that LittleWarGame has. Multiple campaigns. Frost Giant has one campaign split up into multiple pieces that you have to pay $10 for. Now, I'm not a big fan of the dollars spent for hours gained metric. I actually think there's a game I play a lot. It's called Defense Grid: The Awakening. I think I spent like $15 on it. And it's as a defense game, you're encouraged to like play and defend and figure out the strategy. And part of it is don't go look up a strategy guide somewhere else. Yeah, StarCraft 2 has fan-made campaigns that are free. They have multiplayer versions of the game that have multiple factions in them. You can literally play as the Xel'Naga. Age of Empires 2 is the reigning fucking goat for having extra campaigns that other people have made. How are you gonna, here's the thing too, without making the editor public, you don't get all the goodwill of people making that shit. I didn't make the campaign because I had programming knowledge and just stole into the area. JBS Jibs, Johannes Bonnets, made the editor. Then I made the campaign with a guy named Zientage. Then Derpo, who is a newer RTS player, made his own campaign for people who found my campaign too difficult, who were earlier on the scale. Can't have that because we can't have an editor. Right? How about, here's one. Ready? Oh, we're getting into fucking my favorite topic. Distinguishable units, visual clarity. Now, here's the thing, right? This is where I give a tiny bit of grace, and then we're immediately going to stomp on the rest of it. But there is an island of safety, right? There is an island of like, we're not going to fucking completely crush this, right? This island with the sand and a single palm tree like that with like 3 coconuts drawn by a 7-year-old, right? We're going to leave that alone. The rest of the ocean will be sharks, right? And I plan on biting the entire thing to pieces and acting like I'm just wrecking the Miami tourism industry by myself because I've got them jaws, man. I've got them jaws. I'm coming for the throat. But this I will give grace to. Okay. LittleWarGame. Which game, 2014 or 2024, has better visual clarity? Well, what do I mean by visual clarity? I don't mean graphics. Graphics is something that everyone misunderstands. Let me give a very quick example. Or a definition. Graphics is how pristine what you see looks, and visual clarity is how capable you are of discerning what you're seeing. Right? One is the quality of that perception, and the other is the base perception. Now, I will say, one of the challenges that Frost Giant has run into, and in fact, I know none of the people inside of the chat have ever developed anything or worked in any game engine. They must not have. And I'm not talking about you at Frost Giant or anyone of that team. I mean the Redditors and the Twitter people who pretend to know so much about this subject. Because if you have ever tried to make something in Unreal Engine 4 or 5, and to a lesser extent Unity, the colors like fading is fucking appalling. You lose so much quality. You know how new gen Pokemon games look, where the 3D Pokemon look like they've lost all of their luster and they just look like they're just like doing this, and they don't have very in-depth animations, and it looks like they were hit with an ugly stick, but it's really like they were just hit with like the saturation just ripped out of them entirely, right? That is a challenge of working in Unreal Engine and Unreal 4 and 5, and Unity to a lesser extent. So the fact that LittleWarGame has better visual clarity when it has a pixel art style that was made by one person, therefore it has visual consistency, fits their theme. Yes, those are all things that Jibs gets, and we can hold them against Frost Giant for not having that, but I will give the tiniest grace that making something in 4 and 5 look like it's not bleached out in the sun is very difficult. And that's where the grace ends, because fucking $25 to $40 million and ex-professional players, or rather ex-professionals from one of the largest video game companies in the entire world, and yes, I'm talking about before Activision, even one of the most critically acclaimed, one of the most lauded for their quality. And you somehow come out with this? Now, here's the thing. This sounds like a rehash. I'm going to go grab all the old heads. Come with me. Everyone who is here and had played Brood War and was actually around in 2010 to 2008 to 2010 when TeamLiquid.net, TL.net had a bunch of visual graphics. And if you were there at the time, you know exactly what I'm about to say. Here's the way it was presented. Brood War, very discernible, excellent visual quality. And then the hater would be like, and in StarCraft 2, here's like 3 siege tanks and 4 fucking blink stalkers and a marauder, and then there's a fucking like carrier dropping shit around, and then there's a bunker, and there's a cloud and some other shit. And they would do that to say the visual clarity of StarCraft 2 is terrible. And then the defender on the other side of StarCraft 2 would be like, actually, let me do the same thing. And they would put fucking Dark Swarm and carriers with interceptors flying around everywhere, and then a fucking lurker buried underneath, and then like a science vessel, and one of them was irradiated, and then there was a fucking ghost and a cloaked wraith at the same time. And then beside that, they would be like, now look at StarCraft 2. Do you see these zealots and stalkers? I can see them perfectly. So that is the difference that we're talking about for visual clarity. The visual clarity of this game is ass. It is terrible. And in fact, if your primary game mode is 3v3, that's going to be a big fucking problem, that there are not outlines, there are not shaders, there are not some easy way to tell, because the silhouette is good. The silhouettes for the units in Stormgate are very, very good, actually. Right? From the perspective they're meant to be viewed, they're excellent. But the problem is that they all like have this like bleached, washed fucking Armor Hammer baking soda wasn't enough in the fucking fridge feeling to them. Where like the Spriggan's wing is just, of course, it's almost the same color as the Magmadon skin, which of course, like the forehead of the hammerhead of the unit looks perilously close to what the Gaunt does. And of course, the Speed Camp looks like it's like the same blue as the unit that's blue. And of course the flower that's green on the ground that you hit is the same desaturated, ugly looking green that the ground is in something like Broken Crown Hinterlands, right? That's the problem. Visual clarity in this game is terrible, and it gets worse with scale. 1v1, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to say it's great. Some abilities are great. And cast Nanoswarm on an enemy, excellent. Cabals, Animancers doing their thing, excellent. Shroudstone, or the Nightfall Infestation, pretty rough, but like there's a giant red circle, so it almost gets a pass. But I've also been playing a lot of co-op, and this is why I say this is a big concern, because if you ever play co-op on Brutal, when like multiple waves spawn at once, you get the whole team together and you just have the big old team fight and defend. If there's air units and ground units, you just have an overlapping cascade of a line moving forward, and you cannot tell what the fuck is in there. You had better have put everything on a hotkey and be looking at the hotkey in the bottom center of your screen, because you ain't seeing fucking shit over the top. And that's even worse because the enemy attack waves can also clump, especially on Annihilation. So I hope you weren't counting on having specific units and specific counters. And the reason this matters is they just announced that they're going to have their 3v3 game mode. Just another thing LittleWarGame has had for fucking ever, by the way, 3v3. You know, they're literally, and here's the quote line, they're bespoke game mode. But I'm not a betting man, usually. That's why I play fucking Solitaire. Not so well, Solitaire as well, but I like to play games that are more Solitaire than a betting man, because you win it more. And if you know, like, here's a good example, is I don't play poker, I play blackjack, right? Good odds, run of the table, something that you can feel, right? There's something to work with that's tangible, that can't be cheated or can't be outskilled in some way. It has defined limits. I'm willing to bet, in as much as I'm willing to bet, that their bespoke 3v3 game mode is going to look suspiciously like Day 9's Guardians of Atlas. Ooh, you haven't heard Guardians of Atlas since about 2016, have you? Oh shit, what was that? Oh, that was just a game that they said they didn't want to make it a 1v1 RTS game, and they wanted to have heroes. And in fact, the heroes were so fucking powerful that one of them, let's see, there were the two blue heroes. I can't remember the names of them off that. I played Vex. There was Eris, and then those were the two red heroes. Garl or something like that. He was such a powerful hero that his ultimate literally has him get a blunderbuss that does fucking AoE damage and makes it harder for you to kill him. And he single-handedly fucking shreked level 1 guys. Oh, I played Alder. What did Alder have? Oh, dude, his level 6 ultimate's just a big fucking tree that comes out, stuns everything. Now, what was the gameplay of Guardians of Atlas? Because remember, people who don't like that Day 9 didn't like or gave a negative review, although there's more nuance to that than people suspect, didn't like that Day 9 gave a negative review to Stormgate. We have to come and defend Stormgate. And they were like, well, actually, Guardians of Atlas was shit. Hold your fucking heathen tongue. That was actually a game that prioritized 3v3, not Frost Giants Stormgate, by the way. They prioritized 1v1. That's actually a game that had more impactful heroes in that 3v3 game mode. I would much rather be playing fucking Alder with seed bots than be playing with fucking Amara with all of her abilities in Mission 3 onwards. 100% of the time. That had more impactful heroes. And you know what the 3v3 game mode is? Oh, you'll never guess, guys. You have a nexus and your opponent has a nexus, and there's a bunch of static towers in the way, and wait for it, periodically a giant enemy spawns in the center, and they do battle, and if your army kills their demon first, your demon goes and tries to wreck their base. That's what the 3v3 is going to look like. That's what I'm a betting man of. Right? So all of you who have been saying, like, fuck Guardians of Atlas, just be fucking careful, like, of what you're actually going to be receiving. So here's a couple of things that are also missing from the game. Can I name my own custom games? You can in LittleWarGame. Can you do that inside of fucking Stormgate? Absolutely not. Hotkeys. Oh boy. Fucking hell. I hope this video pops off just for this point. The excuse, by the way, that hotkeys are hard, full rebindable hotkeys are difficult in Unreal Engine 5 is probably the closest to a bald fucking face lie that I have seen from this game and from this community. And this is how I know the people on the Reddit have no fucking idea what it takes to do anything in a creative process, which is why they can be duped and led around by the nose the entire time, led through the desert for 40 days and nights and then years. But oh wait, it was just because someone was hoodwinking them, not actually because it was biblical. Here's how you make hotkeys in Unreal Engine 4. Are you ready? You make a widget, you get a button. Inside of the button, you put a thing called, or you make a widget, you make a horizontal box. Inside of the horizontal box, you go look for a thing called an input key selector, whose entire purpose is to say something by default, and then when you click it, you can make it change to, oh, well, input whatever value you want, and then you have it saved. Fucking done. It is a 20-minute process in Unreal Engine 4. The only thing that I give some leniency for is that in Unreal Engine 5, yes, combined hotkeys are a little bit harder, except they're not. I've literally done it. They're not as much harder as you're making it. You're making it sound like it's like a 1-month process to get something that's not going to affect very many people, when you forget that people want in 2024 to have rebindable custom hotkeys, and you have not allowed them to do that, so it has a bigger impact than you think. It affects play styles because of where people's hands are located, and you would think that a company that cares so much about accessibility would understand that people need rebindable hotkeys because they have certain abilities or inabilities, right? I never had to worry in StarCraft Brood War about hitting P for probe because I've got fucking gigantic hands and I'm over 6 feet tall, but I know plenty of people who are literally using their second hand to go ahead and do that because they couldn't just pinky thumb over and go grab the information. Don't worry though, it's fine. Don't need accessibility options. What's that other game from 2014 that has accessibility? Oh shit, wait, it's LittleWarGame fucking strikes again. An hour of W's, which is only fitting because Stormgate doesn't have a W in its name and LittleWarGame literally does. Fucking hell. All right, now let's talk about the things that are just big ass fuck ups in Stormgate. Things that are actually trash about the game or have caused the community sentiment to go to such shit that it's never actually going to come back out of its death spiral. Because this shit is in a death spiral. Make no mistake. When you go ahead and flush a toilet, does the toilet all of a sudden stop twisting downward to get rid of the water? Because, oh, wait, guys, maybe, you know, we could hope that the water doesn't keep going down. This shit is going down the drain. Right? And here's how you can tell. You ready? Let's fucking kick back and talk about them. Monetization. Easiest one. Easiest one. You had a Kickstarter, which, by the way, even the way you did that was very cynical, but that's just good marketing nowadays. So I won't call you out too much on the fact that you deliberately undersold what your expectations were for the Kickstarter so that you could get a ton of marketing beats and press off the fact that you cleared it in a ludicrous amount of time and generate a positive marketing beat. That's just actually good sense. The only reason I'm calling it now is, or saying this out loud now, is that there are people who don't understand that idea, never heard of that idea, haven't considered that idea, or don't think that the world works that way, and they need to be more appropriately cynical to what was happening here, because if they were, they would understand the depth of the cleverness that went into monetization, which is so clearly at odds with the inability to deliver a good product. Oh, by the way, spoiler, LittleWarGame monetization, yeah, the devs were tired because one tiny game mode barely anyone played made it pay to win, so they just took away the monetization. Yeah, they just took it away. The devs work for free on their off time, by the way. Yeah, the community devs work for free on their off time, and they weren't even willing to buy in for monetization. But you know what was monetized? Fucking the highest Kickstarter of 2023 went to Stormgate. Hit every tier. What's a bit suspicious about that, though, is that they actually stealth edited the results of the Kickstarter to say, well, you know, in the Kickstarter, we actually said that we were going to give you access to all the heroes until launch day. That was a mistake. Here's a thought for you. Ready? If you never considered this idea, right? They were like, well, actually, what we meant to say is it's just up to early access that you get all of them. You know, that was a mistake. That was a bad communication. First off, I don't make mistakes that make me money. Usually when I make mistakes, I lose money. Something goes badly for me. I owe somebody something, right? I can't make a mistake that makes the IRS pay me more money. That's not how that works. It's just, you know what, man? I fucked it up, but accidentally $100,000 ended up in my pocket, and I don't have to do anything with it. It's just a fucking accident. Just fucking tripped over. Yeah, usually when I have an accident, it causes things like I have to pay more in taxes. My accidents tend to be I have to go to medical and pay a larger bill. I don't have as much money in my bank account instead of having more. So be deeply suspicious anytime someone's fuck up leads to them actually getting a benefit. Here's another example, right? So first off, it's not until the full, you don't get all of the content until the full release, even though you backed literally the highest tier of the Kickstarter. No, that's just until early access. Now, that was stealth edited, and it's worth mentioning, no one noticed that until a German article, which was actually the only fucking article about Stormgate I've seen that has legitimate criticisms about the game and doesn't fucking puff piece pander to the idea and says that something is a little fucking rotten in the state of Denmark, although being German, you know, maybe they know more about Denmark than I do as an American there. That's the safe way to make that joke. So here's another one. So that German article just said, wait, wasn't this a stealth edit? They reached out for comment. Do you know what the comment was? Fuck off, silence, and we changed it immediately. Hope you saved the screenshots, otherwise you can never prove this. Unfortunately, the German publication, I actually did do that. And I got to read, by the way, that was not properly translated. I saw some guy also on Reddit. Here's the Cope from Reddit. Oh, well, the German article wasn't actually appropriately translated. I guarantee you, I'll fucking put money on the fact that I know more German than you do. Fucking Zorro Arts on Twitter is an indie game dev who's making a thing called Indie Game Racing, and he made a post in German. And I thought the idea was so cool that without looking anything up, I fucking translated it into English and sent it out to some people that I thought would be interested in it. So don't tell me you know more about what was translated or not in German than I do. Right? If you speak German, then go for it. But I bet you don't. Because I actually looked up your post history, random Reddit people. That's right. I fucking keep receipts. All you do is spend money. So your receipts just show that you owe me. So then WarZ. WarZ is a co-op hero. What's the monetization for co-op? Literally double what it is in StarCraft 2. Now, is StarCraft 2 a worse game? No. Does StarCraft 2 have less content for their co-op commander? Absolutely not. Does StarCraft 2 have like a non-existent player base and no hype? Nope, still exists. Oh, maybe there's not a co-op community for it. No. What if co-op is more exciting in Stormgate? Definitely not. So you just charge double. And then not only that, you made a hero that wasn't available in the Ultimate Founders Pack. That was the highest tier pay of Kickstarter. I secretly suspect, again, oh, it's just an accident, guys. We didn't know that it would cause bad sentiment to release day one DLC when these whales have already paid. Maximus Black was on stream and said he paid $1,900 to back it. Like thousands, almost plural, of dollars. Oh, but Frostgiant, they just kind of accidentally fucked up, you know? They didn't realize people wouldn't like it, that there was another saleable item. Damn. And when they got to the negative PR, oh, we would give it to all you guys for free, but it's the fucking damnedest thing, man. It was already sold to some people, so we'll give you the next one for free. What about the money? Yeah, we got to keep that. We sold a valuable good. It's perfectly fine. Sick, great, wonderful. It's amazing the extent to which they have fucked up and then made money. Not least by, I'll just add this as a hilarious tidbit right here, was the valuation where they said that when they get to 1.0 release, they could justify private investment. By the way, Kickstarter is investment, but they actually had a full public funding round where they had people buy in. And what was their valuation? Oh, yeah, we plan on making, we value our company at $150 million. And now this is where people on Reddit get it wrong. People on Reddit are like, they said they'd have half the player base of StarCraft 2, and it's in this state right now. No, that's not what they said. If you're going to hold somebody's feet to the fire, make sure you're not holding their socks, you fucking moron. All right, what they said was, we anticipate that when we get to version 1.0 release, we will capture something like 50% of the Wings of Liberty player base, specifically in the context of those being the free-to-play players of the free-to-play game Wings of Liberty, right? Now, here's the thing. I think it's all smoke and mirrors, because this game isn't getting to a 1.0 launch, right? So, convenient. You get to, when we get to 1.0 launch, we will give you a return on investment. What happens if you close the doors before then? That's the nature of investment. Interesting. Quick question for you. Why would a company ever have public investment and public funds if they could get it privately? Just think about that for a second. Let that thought rattle in your brain. Why would they go and look for the public to be interested in to dive into the game if they could just get it privately? It's almost like there's this thing that other channels have talked about called esports winter. It's almost like there's not any investment coming in from anywhere, which is why people go to Saudi Arabia. As a quick aside, by the way, don't fucking promote that you're going to allow people on your website to travel and take care of themselves for reproductive needs when you have literally, by choosing the location of Riyadh, made it impossible for some of the strongest members of your community to even ask if they could go. I saw someone on Discord, and I'm not telling anything about my fucking backstory, right? You don't need to know if this is about me or anyone else. But it fucking astounded me on Discord when I saw somebody who said, well, it's fine as long as they don't do, people can go as long as they're not openly LGBT. What the fuck do you mean? You realize that's not how that works for everybody, even in that small group of the acronym, right? Right? Also, amazing how inexpensive your morals are when it may cause you to get more attention. Definitely worth it. Don't worry. Strong ethical foundation right there. Hypocrisy that wouldn't be called out because it's not good to call it out. But I wasn't there, and for various reasons that you guys on the stream won't know, maybe some of you privately will know, don't say them out loud. I will ban you immediately. I can never go to that country, so I don't lose anything by saying that's hypocritical as fuck. But also, just don't be disgusting about that topic. So anyways, art style. I already talked about it. There's no visual clarity. Graphically better than LittleWarGame, terrible visual clarity. And if you want a good example of what I mean, go back and play on N64 GoldenEye. Go play on the Nintendo 64, go play GoldenEye, no, 007 GoldenEye. And here's what you would discover. Every game that tries to be, oh, let's make it look as nice as we possibly can, incredibly dated the second the next generation comes out. In fact, how dare you show up with Unreal Engine 5 art assets that fucking look like that? How dare, first off, it doesn't, and yeah, Greta Thunberg style, how dare you? And the reason I say that, right, is there is a game demo that came out called Unrecorded that looks photorealistic. And you have the audacity to say that you're making something in Unreal Engine 5 and that it looks good. And then also you're making a real-time strategy game about literally the legions of hell, angels, and the rest, like the vestiges of humanity. And it's a war game in this most like 40K meets Diablo fucking factionalized setting ever. And you have Fortnite graphics. Now, let me explain something. I don't hate Fortnite graphics. In fact, I'm bottom 45% of ranked 1v1, or I was last season, for Fortnite. For those of you who don't know, that's like gold 3 or something like that. I'm in the 50%, like just shy of the 50% dead even curve on the bell curve of Fortnite. I have family and friends that play Fortnite, and I play with them, and some of them are better than me, so I have chosen, for the sake of competitiveness and to have a good time with them, practice playing Fortnite. So don't say, oh, you just don't like Fortnite graphics. No, it's that it looks bad. It looks bad. It doesn't convey the campaign. The art does not convey the gameplay in any meaningful way, and it looks washed out, and the visual clarity is terrible. You know what I don't ever have a problem with in Fortnite, which has a similar art style? You know what actually doesn't bother me? I never try to shoot somebody and then think that I shot them, but actually I hit the green because their body is almost the same green color. You know, when I actually am shooting someone who has different like skins and colors in Fortnite, it's not a question to me as to which one that I hit. You know, when I look at a gun in Fortnite, the UI actually tells me how many bullets are left, and I can practice shooting things beforehand to get some idea of the damage that I'm going to do and the relative fall off that I'm going to get. What are we talking about? Also, you want to talk about art style, there's no timelessness to this art style. Looks dated. It's hard to see what's going on. I was watching Lag TV's podcast, and the question was posed by Adam. So, what aspect of this game of Stormgate would beat WarCraft 3? And the answer they both came to is there ain't fucking shit. WarCraft 3 looks better. I'm tired of the deflection that comes from, oh, well, see, actually, it's that the character model is optimized to look down at it. And so, like, what you're really complaining about is that when you turn the angle, it's actually not made to look good that way. I literally think that is what, like, Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos's campaign looks beautiful. Have you seen Arthas's face in the Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos campaign? Visual quality, pretty bad by today's standards. It's dated in that sense. But the discernibility of it, excellent. Fan-fucking-tastic. Right? And I'm not talking about the portraits where they go, I'm talking about just actually look like, okay, when Arthas goes to kill like all of the civilians in the town, right? And he's telling Uther off. First off, the camera is angled away from the fact that his lips are basically pressed into his face like PS1 Lara Croft, right? And then the second thing is, it just looks good. It conveys the idea. It has a lot of character. What's the fucking characterization of Amara or of what's the xenoarchaeologist's name? Tara Fletcher, right? What am I supposed to get about Riker other than that he's the most reasonable character, but he's not allowed to be? Arthas did nothing wrong. Bro, that's a take from somebody else. I actually think Arthas did the right thing there. The thing that he didn't do right was that he didn't convey what had to be done, and also here's the implication, right, is that if Uther had taken what he had said seriously, if Jaina had taken what he had said and understood what he was saying, and Arthas didn't let his impetuousness get the better of him, they probably could have found a better solution than that in this case, right? So, but anyways, that's a fucking, like, deep lore question. I'm not asking any deep lore questions about Stormgate. It's like, is Amara an unlikable character? Yes. Is she going to take the evil sword that's definitely not Frostborn and kill definitely not Mal'Ganis? Fucking bring. Yeah, you have to have lore before you can go deep. These people, this lore needs to go Helm's Deep. This needs to just get like absolutely eviscerated on every conceivable level. Start over from scratch. It is terrible. Now, okay, we'll get to the lore in a second, right? Because we're going to be talking about the 4 pillars, right? No, not the 5, the 4. Come on, don't get me in trouble, guys. Release date. So the art style is garbage. The distinctiveness is terrible. The visual clarity from the top is okay until you realize that a shrunk version of Amara has actually been used in the co-op for enemy wave states, and that blockade is not discernible in co-op, which is the main mode that he's used in, and that yeah, pretty much most of the character models for the heroes aren't grand enough. Go look at the Death Knight in Warcraft 3. You cannot possibly think that the Death Knight is anything other than what it is. Yet I can just fucking lose blockade in a group of Crusaders in co-op sound. So here's the release date. Here's the next thing we're going to talk about is the release date. Mainly how it's terrible. All attempts to defend it are ass and are proof that there's not enough there is not enough failure in the world to stop someone who is breathing the fresh, unfiltered copium, right? And here's what I mean. Okay, couple things for those of you who don't know much about Steam. When you release an early access on Steam, Steam counts that as your access, right? That is your launch. Now, the reason this matters is that when you launch, the Steam decides how it's going to prioritize how large you are and how big your launch is and who they show you to and how much attention the algorithm is going to give you based on your wish lists. For those of you who you can't know publicly what the wish lists are of Frost Giant Studios for Stormgate, but you can get a good idea because it's pretty typical for something like 8 to 15% wish lists to be something like followers to be 8 to 15% of wish lists. So multiply the number by 12.5 or by about 6.66, depending on how friendly you are with the math. And that is how many people got this game on wish list, right? And then when you go into early access, Steam gives the big marketing push to push the game out, right? And then the next time it does that is when you cut the price by more than 20%. You may notice that Frost Giant Studios did this when they turned the game from being $24.99 for you to have to pay early to $0. Part of the push of making it $0 is first they get the money from the people who come in early, right? And that includes me. I spent $60 to get the entire pack to get everything that I had access to so that I could make content like this if sadly it was necessary, which debatably it's necessary, but it has to be said. We're going fully in. Right? And then, so they get a big push when they did the release of the game. And then when they went free to play, they launched and they got another big push. How did that go for them, by the way? All of you who think that they're going to be successful, let me give you some numbers that are embarrassing. When they went free to play, less than 50%, and the reviews were somewhere around 54 to 61%. 54 to 61%. Now, the copium on Reddit at the time of the release was when the game, when the weekend comes, the numbers will be bigger. And then when co-op, when the full release comes and it's free to play, even more people will shut up. And guess what? There was a fucking brilliant graphic that was shared by people on Twitter. And I looked at it too, and I was in disbelief, and I knew immediately everything was going to shit. Because Steam only shows the downtick when it has stopped tracking the uptrend. So you're at about 4,900, just shy of 5,000 people who showed up and bought the game and were in the game on day one. And then when they went free to play, which is a 100% reduction, warns everybody on their Steam charts, right? Lets everyone who's ever wishlisted the game know by a personal email that this is a ready-made game, guys. This is ready to go. It's gonna be up. You should get it now. It's free. There's nothing you even have to do. You just download it and you go. And I saw the tick down under 5,000. It didn't even reach 5,000 people. And the reviews got worse. There was another thing that was put on Reddit, and mods can't kill this, but it's still the case, right? Someone did an analysis of what the state of the reviews were. It actually turns out that the 54 to 61% was the best case scenario. It turns out that the people who either got gifted something for free or went and bought it or were early access people or had gotten it through the Kickstarter or something else, they were the ones who were overhyping the game by making it a 52, I think at its lowest, up to a 61% rating. for a brief second. And then when all the free-to-play people came in, they actually found that as people are coming in, the reviews are trending negative. In fact, people are sub 50% positive on the game if they came in free to play. Free to play. The game is free, and people can realize what I'm saying. I'm going to say shortly here about these 4 pillars of gameplay hurdles that Stormgate has made, right, and that Frost Giant has advocated for and pushed and prioritized and said was essential to them, right? So actually, someone did the math. It turns out it's like 38%. The average person who came in after free to play is they are 62% negative, 38% positive. It is only the influx of the people who have a vested interest, maybe even in the greater fool principle or wanting to prove that this is going to work somehow. They're the only ones keeping it above 50%. And in fact, you know what the chance is to win between 2 players in a chess game who have the exact same elo? The ratings for Stormgate on Steam. Yeah. That's actually their percentage right now. That's how bad it is. They went for a brief second up until like a phase, and now it's just, and it's trending. Yeah. The entire Universal Command Cards idea is really cool, but it feels worse on every faction except for the Celestials, which is a faction which is cheese incarnate. I'm going to fucking talk about that, actually. So we're going to talk about this, right, for the fuck up for the release date, right? So first off, they had 4 pillars, and of their release date, did they release with 3v3? No. What is the big push that they would appeal to casuals? What was all of their marketing? What are all of the tanks? What are all the Alpha Navigator Cups? 1v1s. What about the tasteless 5k shootout? 1v1 invitational. What about the EGC 10k? 1v1. Okay, I mean, but surely, some of the people who come from like WarCraft 3, StarCraft 2, some of them are interested in team overwhelming guides are written for 1v1. Now, I've heard some insane takes from people on Reddit. Is the editor in there? Maybe if there's an editor, all the 1v1 people can have what they want, and we can go make something else. No, you don't get it. You don't get it. 3v3 and the casual appeal was marketing. It was always marketing all the way down. Every serious tournament is 1v1. All of the content on YouTube that people choose to make is 1v1. All of the most ardent defenders, if you go read hundreds of Steam reviews like I did, all of the defenses are, who cares about campaign? Or obviously co-op needs more time. Or I liked it because of the 1v1. Hell, that's the review that I left. I said that I like it because of the 1v1, because I didn't have a shake in the state of the rest of it. And how are they going to make it newbie friendly? Oh, here's some design things, right? How are we going to make it newbie friendly? I know, let's remove the tooltips that give absolute information on what units do, what units types are, how units counter each other, what their hidden benefits and modifiers are. Let's not quantify what the upgrades are and what they do. Let's not discuss how many people do you need on Therium, how many people do you need on Luminite. You're supposed to just know out of the ether that you're supposed to go to 8 of 12 on Luminite and send everything else to Therium, unless you are about to expand or you really need the Luminite, in which case you go all the way up to 12, because having 9, 10, 11 is a fucking mistake, right? Oh, but where's like the build order trainer external resource, external to the game itself? What about the tutorial to teach the game? Good news, guys, you can play the campaign and you can learn about 3 units in one faction. Too bad there's 3 factions and there's like, a dozen other units inside the faction that you did have access to, but that's perfectly fine. That whole Blizzard history of using the campaign to teach you about what your units were so that you could practice them in a safe and controlled environment and get a feeling for what you would want to do in a 1v1, completely thrown out the window. How about 3v3? Not in the game. Co-op versus AI? Absolutely in shambles. The AI is a fucking joke. I actually think the Hurricane AI from LittleWarGame, Yeah, I didn't know Arc Ship could build structures until a few days ago. Oh, you didn't know that if you build from a Morph Core, it's 50% faster than if you build from an Arc Ship? Oh, you didn't know what the percentage was when you Bob Overcharge? How much better that was? Oh, no one told you exactly how armor does damage mitigation? No? No one? Did you know, actually? Here's one right now for you, Caesar Josephus. Here's one right now for you. Did you know that actually when you mine Luminite, it's more efficient to have the workers on the outside than it is on the inside because they have more idle time when they're inside and therefore are overall less efficient? Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, just fucking get fucked then, I guess. Oh, wait, you didn't know that the white health that you're gaining is always a quarter of the value of the unit that you're getting? Oh, you just have to learn that by math? Sick, dude. I love that. Yes. You actually do. Yeah. Well, you actually get other. Yeah, yeah. So Ninja, you actually do get. Oh, here's the other one, right? Co-op. Hey guys, let's make the tutorial with Blockade, and you actually get all of the commanders for free up to level 5, but we don't show you that you get them for free for level 5, so you're left to intuit that actually you have to pay for them to put one level into them, because, that's a reasonable monetization model that's understandable. So we've decided not to do that, actually. Oh, that doesn't make sense to you? I'm sorry. Oh, shit. All the things that Day9 found about the auto build, yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to figure that out. Good luck with that. That's sick. Is there a tech tree in the game so you can take a look at it? No. This is the casual friendly RTS. You know what's crazy about LittleWarGame? It's filled with casuals. Playing fucking 1v1 Diag 1v1, 3v3, 2v2 neighbors, playing 3v3s, playing like the most garbage modded maps you've ever seen in your entire life. They're just playing them for free because they exist. They're out there. They can pick them. They can host any number of them anytime that they want. Where do you go if you want to learn stuff in in Stormgate? Oh, it's easy, dude. Just go watch insert content creator tell you, hey man, this is actually a beginner friendly celestial build. See, what you have to do is all of this shit to mirror what like this player, this 2200 MMR player does with the vector rush. And if you can do that, then you actually win the game. Totally newbie friendly. Also, design question for you. Newbie friendly RTS, right? So why do I have to do everything that I do in a normal RTS, then I also have to creep, right? Oh, by the way, there's no guides to tell you how to take creep camps. Oh, you didn't know that 4 scouts, you didn't know that 5 mobs with overcharge could kill the health camp in the previous patch and then have enough overcharge to actually be useful to build. Nina didn't just drop by and give you that information. Just get wrecked then. I guess you're just never supposed to know that. That's perfectly fine. Yeah, dig through the mess that is the build order channel on Discord. Is that organized? Is that prioritized? Is that anything? Nope, it's perfectly fine. You just have to sit there and eat shit on it. How do you find new people if you're completely new to RTS? What if you're so new to RTS that you don't know the most basics? Well, I've got good news for you if you're playing Stormgate. So the beginner-friendly, newbie-friendly RTS has a couple of great tools for you. It's called Every Diamond Plus player who never made it in whatever their last game was has decided to show up. And this is not a dig at any very strong players or pro players or people who are at tournaments winning prize money. I'm talking about people like me, right? Oh, dude, I want to get into this new RTS. Well, get fucking wrecked, because while you don't even know what Control 4 does, or why it might be a good idea to not use spacebar for every engagement. Oh, yeah. How do you know that the all-army hotkey exists and what it is? Bro, just tap spacebar. There's no incentive to. There's no reason to do it. You might be doing something like hitting spacebar to go find the last alert that told you that you were under attack somewhere, because that's how it works in other RTSs. But this will just teach you somehow by fucking intuition or mystery or mysticism that spacebar is just the F2 plus A of this game. Good luck with that. Yeah, I hope you could just figure that out by yourself. And then what's your reward? You get into a game where I'm 1750. Me. I'm like barely in the top 400, right? And then there's people who they're so bad at RTS games. This is not a hit at them. This is not a stint at them. Yeah, it's on spacebar, Ninja. Oh, you didn't know that spacebar was actually your F2 all-army hotkey? Oh, is that because that's not how any RTS in the last fucking decade has done it? Oh, shit. I'm sorry, Ninja. Yeah, my bad. Also, you then get to fight people who are like, so the problem is that this newbie-friendly RTS, the most polished game mode, is 1v1. Right? Now, how the fuck do you learn any of this in 1v1 when you're playing against people like me? You don't. You get fucking rolled immediately. You get rolled like a cinnamon roll in a southern, like southeastern American home on Christmas. Right? You get banged like the Salvation Army drum. You get fucking sock-em-boppered. It is over for you. The second that you try and get into the 1v1 aspect of the game, I've literally seen people, because I'm in Discord, right? Just in case anyone's like, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm in Discord more than you are. I'm watching people. I'm helping teach people more than you are. Random people who are responding to that comment. So get your thumb out of your ass long enough to not type that comment. And I see people, and some people are legitimately, and this is not a stint on them, this is not a negative take on their character or anything like that, they are so bad compared to the average RTS player of this game that there is nothing that they can do outside of just practice for 3 months. Imagine that. Imagine someone who is like 1200 MMR, 1100 MMR, and they're like trying to figure out if they like RTSs, what's new to it. They've heard there's heroes, it's free, the friend plays it. And the first thing they do is they fight against someone who's like, oh, I'm not really good at RTSs. I'm just a silver player. And that silver player is bad, but they're fucking 50 APM, and they're understanding that build order is, in fact, a combination of words that makes a proper noun in some channels. Means that 1100 player has nothing to do, and they're just left on an island. And why is this bad? Because there's no social features in the game to help that person except Discord. So you are asking the 1100, 1200 ranked player or the co-op player trying to find stuff on normal to show up to Discord where the hardcore part of the community is, and where people are often dunking on each other for only being 1600. Oh, but good news, by the way, another way that this game isn't very friendly to new RTS players is, what if they're like, oh, I'm my brain massive, my income passive, right? When I needed to take a shit, laxative. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to co-op, and I don't have an ego. I'm going to go pick normal. I'm going to pick the babiest difficulty I could possibly find. Well, once again, you get completely fucked over if you're a new player. And why do you get fucked over? Why? Because co-op is not what a new player-friendly RTS would be. A new player-friendly RTS would make sure that the lowest difficulty setting amongst all difficulties is the one that is selected. Nope, get fucked. Because the second that I decide that I'm having a break from ranked, and I go in with my level 1 Barclay, my level 1 Blockade, real story, I did this. I hit into Brutal. I immediately picked Brutal, because I was like, I am not going to sit here and waste my time by picking fucking... I'm not going to waste my time by going into normal. That's a complete joke. I have if I know what I'm doing, and yeah, it's spammy, it's like 225 APM, and I've been doing content for these kind of games for a decade. I'm not going in there. So if you're a new player and you're like, I am bad, I acknowledge my skill level is low, I'm going to go into co-op, I'm going to have a low-level hero, I'm going to pick something that seems cool. Maybe I even bought WarZ because I didn't hear the controversy, because why would a new player who is a casual hear about what hardcore people are complaining about, like me, on Reddit? They wouldn't. So they go in and they're trying to have a good time with co-op, and you know what? They don't even know what difficulty they're queued in, because if you're not looking at the right part of the screen for the first 10 seconds after you queue into co-op, you don't know what difficulty you're on. You know what? That's terrible for, by the way, just as an aside, for the media people, that's terrible for them, right? If you want people to stream your game and show it off on YouTube, it's very hard to do something like, hey guys, how do I prove what difficulty I'm on? You fucking don't. How do I prove I just soloed Annihilation 4? They had to see the little indicator on the bottom right-hand side or the upper left or right-hand side of the screen for 10 seconds, and that would tell them the difficulty. But other than that, you could just be lying. It's fine. So there's no even prestige for getting into co-op. And then that new player has to get into... my game, my first level 1 game is Brutal because my skill level allows me to do that. And then somebody else is like, actually, fuck it, I want to do Annihilation 1, right? Because I actually have a really statted out Amara and I want to go push forward. And so the new player who is on normal is basically thrust into this game between two people who have a combined 450 to 600 APM and know the game mode and have really experienced heroes who are very familiar with the RTS formula. And this poor new person doesn't even get the opportunity to learn anything, because by the time they've learned anything, either they're dead or the game has ended, and they've contributed sweet fuck all because they were carried like a rucksack on a 20-mile hike in the army. Very new player friendly. Also, all the replay features that don't exist, very new player friendly. Love that. That's great. Also, while we're talking about things that went really badly for the release, the fact that you got the mixed reviews is really bad, but actually, here's the thing. This is going to sound like anti-marketing. You're not going to believe this. Anyone who hears this won't believe me, but if you're a gamer, if you are, okay, Here's how you know if you're a gamer. If someone has ever called you a gamer and they mean it in a pejorative, negative sense to indicate that you have no life and you are not trying to aspire to do anything else and that you are wasting your time, not, oh man, everyone's a gamer. My grandmother's a gamer because she has fucking Bejeweled on her phone, right? Oh, my dad, hypothetically, not my real grandmother, not my real dad, but oh, my dad, he's a fucking insane gamer. Why? Because he fucking, he played like pole position 40 years ago, and that means he's an insane gamer. Oh, my best friend over there is a gamer. You know why? Because they watched someone play a stream once at GDQ, and they said I would love to get that, and they're just really mad that it's not on their Wii U. Right? Yes. If you were ever called a gamer in that pejorative sense, right, then you're going to know what I'm about to say, which is the defenses that I saw for the articles on release of this game were an anti-signal to me. They were an anti-signal to me. They made me think I've got to play not this game. I've got to go do something else, right? Oh, we had it all. We had tough but fair. We had has launched to mixed reviews, but the studio is hopeful. Following in the trails of StarCraft, but not quite there yet. Who could forget IGN 7 of 10 review? Now, went and looked up what 7 of 10 review means, and it's the same IGN review of 7 of 10 that Game Informer has had for years, but they're gone now. Now, I'm not wishing that any of them are gone, but their review system was fucking terrible, because what Game Informer said for 7 of 10 for years was, actually, it's not innovative, but it's not bad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a guy left Stormgate to go play through Red Alert 3. Yes, exactly. I was in the Discord when that happened. Absolutely. And here's the thing, right? When I hear from the game, oh man, it's following in these footsteps and these trends. It's doing pretty good. No. IGN 7 of 10 is much like Game Informer 7 of 10, which is we don't hate you and we don't hate you and we don't like you enough and we don't like the game enough to actually extend it. By all 1 to 10 accounts, where 1 is unplayable shit and 10 is the best thing ever, this game is 4. This game is not even average RTS to an RTS that came out on a browser 10 years ago. That means it is below average. You can make all the excuses you want. You can make all the roadmaps, points and signs that you want. You can have all the sophistry that you could possibly imagine. You could fucking dig in and make sock puppets. You can hide behind being a mod or being a community member in some facet, right? I will, spoiler, suggest to you that those people have a lot more to lose than I do, which may be, again, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth, but maybe, I suspect, a compelling reason why they're not as vocal about the problems that I'm saying right now. So the Puff articles for this game were also an anti-signal that let me know that this wasn't going to be a very good game or that it was going to have some severe problems. And then let's talk about the community. Oh, we haven't even... Oh my god, we're almost 2 hours in, and I haven't even gotten to talk about how the writing was the kind of shit that people would have been embarrassed to post on Writer's Window in the early 2000s. Oh my god, it's so good for my fucking soul. Like the Pit of Vols would have rejected this writing script. Okay, so anyways, let's talk about community. There was an event that happened today where Stormgate, Frost Giant Studios was out and available in public. They had 2 people show up. Do you know what was on the Reddit? Now, keep in mind, today, they released a balance patch and a statement about how their roadmap is going to change. They're trying to reinvigorate the people and say, this isn't what we wanted. This is subpar. We're going to improve. What is immediately next to it with a Frost Giant Reddit response? People saying, I went to this event to meet the people behind Stormgate. These are your most dedicated fans, the people who care the most about the game, right? Who made the time, the sacrifice of their individual time and their finances, even if it was 5 minutes and a walk away, and it cost them very little. They still chose, rather than the infinite world of entertainment and the rest of what's happening in this precious moment in eternity that we will never get back, they chose to go see Frost Giant Studios, maybe play some Stormgate with some people, have some conversations with the devs. There was nobody there. Oh, don't worry. Someone was there. Interviews were being given out, but no one was there to meet those people. Now, here's the thing, right? That's not a very good look, is it? you've just had multiple. Your release was bad. The monetization was concerning. The full release was bad. The initial early access was bad. You have a bunch of people coming in and critiquing you for various design decisions that you've made, and there's speculation about what broader themes and concerns that aren't gaming oriented, and that's how I'll phrase that. And you just can't be bothered to meet like two extremely devoted people. Oh, you can be immediately on Reddit to correct that, but you couldn't have another person. Now, I know they said, well, there was a family occurrence in sickness, and I do sympathize with that. One, I can't confirm that that's true. Two, I don't have a reason to suspect that they're lying. So here's the thing, though. You're going to tell me that you have $40 million and you couldn't afford to fly a third person. So you had a small booth and you flew two people. Two people? I'm going to be going to an event, a con, in sometime before the year ends. And there are people in my family and friends who care about this enough. And they said, can you help? And I said yes. And there's going to be 5 of us going. 5. Across the country of the United States, which is the size of Europe, or part of Europe, a generous chunk of Europe. And I can make time for that off of having my own individual salary. But it's not worth the PR to just show up, really, at all. Here's the other thing. Here's something that I haven't heard people talk about, because I'm sure the people who were affected by this are the people least likely and least able to say something. This whole narrative that we have seen since the release went badly, and make no mistake, if the release had done well and they had made millions of dollars, this whole, we're releasing to, help us build the game. None of that bullshit would be there. The line would be, oh, we released it early because we knew we had an awesome product. 100%. So, the line that is used sounds good in practice, terrible in execution. And the practice line is, we've released the game so that you can help us improve the game. We're going to make this game excellent together. Yes, question from me in the back. So did you just politely tell all of the literal professional players, content creators, everyone who signed up for the beta and got a key, everyone who was in the alpha, everyone who was in the technical pre-alpha, everyone who was in every phase, and everyone who participated in every tank, everyone who did any consulting for you, like, are they just fucking worthless? Are they just sacks of shit on the side of the road, and that even a horse couldn't bother to duke in because there's just nothing left but garbage? What the fuck is going on here? So you mean to tell me that, oh, we wanted to build this together with the rest of you? Yeah, you really wanted to build the game with the rest of the 1,200 people that are online. Less than that, actually. But less than the 1,200 people that are online concurrently at any given point, and you're losing 150 people per day in the trough of your game, and you can see it on steamdb.info and vginsights.com. But you want to help build the game with those people, but all of your most diehard and invested people who are populating your Reddit, filling up posts in the internal Discord, organizing your community events, literal professional people in the sense that they get paid and that is their living and their livelihood, and they have a vested financial interest in you succeeding. Yeah, but fuck those people, I guess, because, we really care about the opinions of fucking pleb number 17 instead of the most invested people in our community. So no one has said this, no one has thought about this, but that's a giant fuck you to the most invested people in the scene. What? And then also 1v1 prioritization, right? This is just another example of the community having it ass backwards. Community. So I have heard people say, it's not that they prioritized 1v1. It was just the first thing they made because they had to do it to make the rest of the game. Hand up from me in the back. A couple of questions, right? So what part of a matchmaking rating system was necessary for 1v1? You know what we did in LittleWarGame for years before we had it? Yeah, you know what we had for years in LittleWarGame before we had ranked 1v1? We just made custom lobbies and played against each other. And then if it went well, we played more games with that person. That's actually how you emphasize not 1v1. I played Drop Zone and Guardians of Atlas. Both of those games didn't even launch with a 1v1 version of the game. Battle Right, same way, didn't even launch with a 1v1 version of the game. So you can say it's priority. It's not prioritization, it's just what they had to do. But literally 2 other RTSs that said that they care about the casual experience and the team play experience and don't care about 1v1. They just did the most radical thing and didn't make 1v1. It's a fucking astounding concept, right? Yeah, 1v1 wasn't prioritized yet. On release, there are no mods, no custom game modes, and there is co-op with 4 heroes that aren't paid. There is no way somebody played Auralana as a co-op hero and was like, yeah, man, we didn't focus on 1v1. You have a replay function in the game. 1v1 wasn't prioritized. You have a map pool in the game. Wasn't prioritized. Your API literally hooks into ranked points and to MMR. But 1v1 wasn't a priority in the game. All of the heroes that we've seen in campaign thus far look like they are just copy pasted over into co-op, but I'm supposed to believe that 1v1 was the focus. You have the fucking gall to tell me that those are the best missions you could come up with for campaign, to put your best foot forward. Do you know what a vertical slice is? You must know. Okay, so for everyone who's not in game development or game design or doesn't just watch shit like Tim Kaine for fun, here's what a vertical slice is. You take a portion of your game, and usually you at home, you see this when you're on Steam because of this is how demos are released. There is a game. There is a thin portion of the game. If this is the whole pie, this is the wedge of the game. And this wedge is fucking pristine. This is the most beautiful, like, listen, you're trying to make a pie. You're trying to make a key lime pie, because I fucking love key lime pie, right? Good morning, Consciously. How's it going, man? I'm consciously ranting right now. It's good to see that you're eating. Maybe we can all be a bit conscious. Yeah, exactly. So you're making this beautiful key lime pie because I'm your target audience. And oh boy, I'm already your target audience. You're making key lime pie. You know what a vertical slice is? Hey, Robert, Etano, we're going to give you one perfect key lime pie. This little slice. It's not much. It's not even enough for dessert. It's like half of a dessert slice, but it whets your appetite because what we can't tell you is we're putting in the pie crust elsewhere. We don't have enough filling for the rest of the key lime pie over there. And actually, the refrigeration isn't good enough for a very large pie yet. And actually, we want to make a pie for everybody, and we only have scale to make like little slices for some people at a limited time. But we're going to make this slice beautiful for you. And that's all the demos that you play on Steam for your most popular, for the games that you like the most, that are the most popular games. They have a vertical slice. They have this pristine, beautiful subsection of the gameplay. Show me what part of the campaign has that. Now that sounds like I'm whatabouting. No, I'm not. There are 3 missions. Three. Uno, dos, tres. Right? There are 3 missions in all of Stormgate that are free. So those 3 missions have to be shiny and beautiful, right? How am I going to convince other people to buy my campaign mission packs unless I make those first 3 missions just so of surpassing taste and beauty, of such quality that manna from heaven would pale in comparison? But unfortunately, the only thing that's coming for the campaign is the pale horse of death, because it looks fucking awful. And you have the gall again to be like, no, we didn't care about 1v1. It just so happened that every tournament and casted event was about 1v1. It was purely coincidence that co-op looks like it just rips off of the campaign and vice versa. It was a joke to us, actually, that the writing was what it was. An unfortunate mistake, a misstep, a mental misstep. Yeah, because I can counter you by paying 2 life, because I don't even need mana. Fucking hell. Neither do Hexens anymore. Thanks, my husband, Nerf. Here's the thing, right? 1v1 was prioritized. Ask yourself, what would prioritization look like if the game hadn't cared about tanks, the Alpha Navigator Cups? What would it look like if players didn't care about a ranked game queue? You have the gall to tell me that you were some of the writing in the team behind WarCraft 3, and you give us the worst version of defensive strawbread I've ever seen in my life. And I know because I've made some pretty fucking bad ones myself. And you have the gall to be like, actually, campaign is one of our pillars. Don't you see this? Look at this excellent non-bow of writing. A non-bow is a combo that works against itself, right? Look at this non-bow of uninteresting characters, terrible attack points on the main character you're using, minimal character abilities, and a story that's got more retreads than a fucking cyclist going back onto their pedals after the 10,000th hour at the Tour de France. What the fuck do you mean that you didn't prioritize 1v1. It's not a dumpster fire because dumpster fires burn. There's no tetrahedron here for the fire, like, there's no fire starter for the tetrahedron. There's nothing to spark on. Fucking Tinder has more people left on red that eventually catch into sparks. Oh, dude, consciously. Yes, I did. You'll have to see that one. Oh, by the way, shout outs to Itishishin and the people behind Stormgate World and LuminiteGG, because here's how much Stormgate and Frost Giant Studios care about the community. Are you ready? Here's how much they care. So Stormgate World was a website that showed the rank points in the MMR of all players, but especially the top 500 at the start of it. And then the thing that they also did is it would show you over 100 games what your average ranking was. Were you trending middle, up, down? How was your MMR moving? What were the matchups that you were having? How quickly did you end up winning or losing the game? What was your percentage? It even showed how how many games you won or lost based on the time of the match. So you could see that oh, wait a second, actually, my win rate as Vanguard versus Celestial goes up to infinite if I fucking wait 14 minutes. What is it about 14 minutes that I can get? Maybe I can optimize that. And you know what they use for that? An API that was provided by Frost Giant Studios. And guess what? Luminite.gg was even crazier. They wanted to take the information that they had from the API. They wanted to put in build orders and all this shit. You know what Team Solomon, what TSM and Reggie were doing with those fucking, oh my god, what is it called? What is that? You know what I mean? It's a League of Legends helper that you can click on. It's like it's not Mobalytics, but it's something like that, where it's like, wow, this is an application that you can load in. It'll tell you if that guy's having a hot streak, and if this guy's doing well, and if this guy's first timing is champion. Here's the average builds that you have, and against this matchup, and here's the rune pages that you can take. And Luminite.gg was trying to do that for build orders. And guess what? Here's all of the community favor that Frost Giant Studios extended. Are you ready for what they extended? A big fuck you. Go to StormgateWorld.com right now, and you can see that they don't cover that information anymore. They dared to say publicly, oh, we would like to thank Stormgate World for doing this. By the way, Stormgate World, literally the application that decided the seeding for the EGC 10K, the first $10,000 tournament, the one that happened during Steam Next Fest. Yeah, that one. They literally chose the seeding based on people's seeding in Stormgate World, which was based off of ranked points. And they thanked them for that and said, you did an excellent job. We really appreciate it. That's fucking awesome. And guess who has the API now? Both of those fucking websites are fucking done. They're dumpstered. There's nothing left of them. Stormgate World literally has on its main page a banner that says that it's out of date and it doesn't do this anything anymore because they don't have access to the API. That's how much Frost Giant Studios actually cares about their community. Right? That's how much attention they give. That's how much focus they give to the most hardcore members of their community, people who are willing to even start businesses off of the belief in the success of their game. But nah, fuck those people, right? Definitely worth it to give it to untapped.gg. Oh, dude, they nuked it. Yeah, they just stole the fucking. They just said, now you can always play the corporatocracy angle and be like, it's actually their API. They can do with it what they want. Who knows what the deals were that they had in the background? It's not a good look, is it? It's not a good look when you go take something that was started up internally to your community and you just tell the community to fuck off so that you can give it to someone who is, by all accounts, a larger website. And for reasons I don't know, I would cynically bet you were able to sell that API to them, and you couldn't sell it to someone you already gave it to. So we can't have people starting their own businesses and making stuff that's for the community, because that might actually mean that the community makes $1 that we can't fucking squeeze between us, like Scrooge McDuck. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we're here. We're here, and we're not at the end. Oh no, we're not at the end. What I'm going to ask you to do is keep people involved and let them know that we're going to have 4 more areas to go on to after this, right? And the 4 areas are going to be the 4 pillars that Frost Giant Studios said that they cared so much about for so long. Yes, we ex-Blizz, we are the talent, the good guys. We're going to make your dreams come true. And we're going to talk about those, right? And they're going to be as follows. I'm going to put it in the chat. We're going to talk about 1v1, campaign, co-op, 3v3. Now, we already said that, that this game is already failing to be, forget spiritual successor. This game is failing to be a physical predecessor to LittleWarGame, made by a fucking aggro German guy making his first HTML5 game. Let's see, $40 million, one summer of a bored German. The jokes write themselves. So here's what we're going to do, right? I'm going to take a very brief break. I'm going to go use the restroom because we're at about the 2-hour mark. We're going to talk about the things that I've left in the chat. These are their 4 pillars. It's not actually 4 pillars. It's more like one of them is a marble column, right, that has no details on it. One of them is a papier-mâché version of that marble column. One of them is a drawing of a papier-mâché version of that column, and the other one is, like my millions of dollars, purely theoretical at this point. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not co-op, it's actually editor. Cool. There we go. So keep the people entertained. I'm going to use the restroom. I'm going to go get some water because ranting for this long is something I expected to do, but not something I expected to be so successful. And as we're at 2 hours of explaining this, I want you to keep this in mind. This is going to be the fucking nail in the coffin when this goes on YouTube, if this gets any attention, because every other review is very nicely polished. It has really cool shine, and it's 8 minutes long or 12 minutes long. Oh God, it's fucking 15 minutes long, and it looks so nice. Thank you so much for that consciously. I really appreciate you. And what we're going to be doing, because what I'm motivated by is not how polished this could be. One of my favorite videos was a video that was 6 hours and 43 minutes going over the full review of the game of Pokemon Omega Ruby. And so much the same way, I'm going to hit this with a multi-hour tangent. It might even take a few days to load up. It probably won't play very well because it's too much content to watch. But I'm going to leave you with a very temporary break so that you can go ahead. Nah, fuck that. Yes. Adults only. We on business right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the restroom. I'm going to take a few minutes. If you could just keep people around, and I'll be back. And then we can go over how even the shining edifice was actually fecal matter. Give me a second, guys. Oh, by the way, quickly to Caesar Josephus's point, Invincible and I realized literally 10 years before Frost Giant did that you could not have a massive successful game if the primary game mode was just aiming a better, more successful and free, similarly free game. And so we made a mod called LittleWarGame inside of LittleWarGame, and that actually almost became the ranked game mode because that was just the two of us figuring it out. But I was willing to do that and to make the campaign and to make a billion tutorials, but I would sooner pull out my fucking teeth through my ankle than put a Stormgate mod inside of LittleWarGame. Although, if we did do that, the pathing would work. I'll be right back.
Oh yeah, to jump back to your point, I'm ready now, by the way. To jump back to your point, it's possible for you to try and move a unit inside of Stormgate. It tries to move between two units that are in the way of it, and it tries to squeeze through a selection circle that its selection circle can't ever allow. And so it keeps trying to run straight into an alleyway and getting stuck, rather than do what every unit in LittleWarGame does, which is if it can't find a way through an area, it actually bounces over to the side and then does this. Yeah. The pathing inside of the $40 million game is worse too. Don't tell the mods though, because they'll be quick to tell you that it's not actually a problem until you show it to them, and then they just disappear and delete their comments and never approach the topic again. Yeah, we just have units try to path to units they don't have vision. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Crazy idea. So now we're going to talk, ladies and gentlemen, about the part that is actually the most unworthy of Stormgate of being continued, which is their pillars. What are their pillars? 1v1, campaign, their co-op / 3v3 like multiplayer casual game mode, and the editor. So let's get into all of these things, because the comparison to a decade-old browser game is gonna fucking spank like they were just told to go outside in the countries, like the Appalachian counties of America, and told to go get a Switch. Because if they don't get a big enough Switch, I'll go get the Switch. And if I have to go get the Switch, they're not gonna be very happy about it. Now, the first thing I want to say before all of this is that I take all of their statements about how they have a roadmap and they're going to fix stuff. I don't even take that with a grain of salt. And the reason I don't is this, right? I take it with the fucking Red Sea, by the way. That's how much salt I take it with. Not because I'm salty that I feel like I was misled, even though that's absolutely the case and justifiable. No, the real problem is this. You do not fix quality that is this shit. You do not release something that is this bad and expect to get so little. And also, this game made $1.5 million since it was released. It is now a free-to-play game. That number has not even gone up $100,000 in the last week on VG Insights. So the average weekly income of this game, post free-to-play, seems to be under $100,000. Now, that sounds great until you realize that this game costs $1 million according to the SEC findings monthly, with an expectation that the number of dollars that it will cost will go up, unless they dig into their own pockets to get more. But I have seen no evidence that they're actually going to do that, because everything in here is undercooked. It's not even undercooked, right? Nothing in this game is undercooked. What happened is this. The instructions said, right, okay, to make RTS, preheat oven to $40 million, preheat oven to 4 years and $40 million, and, then put it in and then it'll be fine. And what they did is they put it in and they started counting the time of the 4 years while the oven was preheating. Yeah. So let's talk about their pillars, shall we? Because much like any ancient Roman device, there are some things that are left standing. Most of it is destroyed and it doesn't serve its purpose anymore. Take that, Romans. First pillar, 1v1. Okay, you would think all the reviews you read say that 1v1 is the most complete part of the game. The fact that it is fucking damning to this game, by the way. Stormgate is released as early access, but they said that they released and that they did not say the statement, we're fully funded until release. And also, you would never release a game to a 51% Steam review. And you have two choices consciously. Either these people are incompetent and they don't know what makes a good RTS game, and they actually thought that they had something good, right? Or they lied to you on purpose. You get two choices. They're either lying to you or they're stupid. If they're stupid and incompetent, there's no reason to have faith in them. And if they're lying to you, there's no reason to have faith in them, right? A lot of people don't like this guy, but to quote a person I think has some very good lines here and there, losers lose, right? You'd think they would know who that person is because he literally played the game when it was before it was released. So the 1v1 pillar, supposedly the best part of the game. Still worse than LittleWarGame. Visual clarity is terrible. Pathfinding is a bit stuck. Your idea of trying to get a casual game has fallen completely on its face because you've added APM requirements to people. The strong players that I have talked to have an incredibly negative perception of your balance, and that's not even my biggest concern. I'm a 1750 diamond shitter, right? I'm a 1750 diamond shitter, D2, Vanguard. Balance doesn't affect me yet.
right? The meta does affect me. The balance doesn't. That's not what I'm going to complain about. Replay features. Can I see build orders? Can I see the player camera controls? Can I see a units tab? Can I see a total income tab? Can I see a rate of income tab? How about I can have the ability to zoom out and see more of the map? You know, shit I can do in a free browser game. Oh, I forgot about the fast forward problem, where if you fast forward in a replay and then you have to slow it down, the fast forward doesn't always slow down when you press the pause or the slow down button. So don't ever go to time 16 to get to the 22nd minute so that you can watch minutes 22 to 29. You might be fucking speeding all the way through 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh shit, the replay's done. Sorry, you just had to sit there in real time in slow motion and fucking wait for it to go through. Fantastic. UI, completely unhelpful, almost unsalvageably so. How do you have an expert in your company that is making the UI for your game, and you decided to put the lore and the flavor text first over the abilities? What the fuck? This is 101 shit. So I pick up a bandage inside of the campaign. I expect to tell me it heals for 35 health, 250 health, plus 250 HP. Fucking easy and done. Exile 2 from the MS-DOS had more visual clarity and tooltips than this game does. Exile 2. Go look at that game. Visual clarity, pretty bad. Graphical style, really bad. Still better tooltips than a $40 million game from 2024, by the way. Yeah, it's not newbie friendly. And as for balance, I don't really care about balance. People have complained about its derivative. I don't really care that it's derivative. Here's what it really is, right? You ready for me to ruin the game for you forever? 1v1 people are like, actually, it's pretty good, right? All you've got are the 3 factions from Diablo 4. Okay, Werewolf Smasher Pass, you get to ask one question consciously, whether I would hit someone with a Werewolf Smash or I would pass on doing that. Go for it. Come on. You get to ask the question. So, here's the next thing, right? I don't really care about the balance too much, but here, let me ruin it for you. They took the factions from Diablo 3 and they put them, they put their skin on StarCraft races. Why do the Celestial play the way that they do? Why do they have that ethereal, technological, like, super sky structure value? Because they're Protoss, but we've made them angels from D3. Okay, why does Amara actually move the way she does in co-op? Because she's Tracer in a top-down RTS. Why do we have Veil or Shroud for the white health for Infernals? Because Zerg have creep. Would I smash Bobby to save Stormgate? Which one? And the answer is no. All right. Because the problem is that here, I'm really tired of this idea that, oh, guys, it's just the big people at the top who really fucked it up. Every one of the underlings actually was so hardworking and dedicated and focused, and they were all doing 215%. They were fucking starving themselves and sleeping like 6 hours a day because they were just in the office for 14 hours every day trying to make sure that Stormgate was the best thing ever. They really tried as hard as they possibly could. I don't. 100% don't believe that, right? Also, I saw something that said WarCraft 3 was made by a team of 30 people. That's not a fucking good look. That's a fucking terrible look. Now, 1v1 balance, I don't care, right? I don't care that Celestials are basically Protoss angels from Diablo 3. I don't care that Infernals have the aesthetics of Zerg, but the gameplay of like some horrible, like somebody's terrible idea of orc. I don't really care that like humans are like some kind of weird pseudo night elf faction that's actually got the guise of Terran with the logistics of the Nephilim from D3. I don't care about any of that, right? There is something that was said, and this is true. And again, this is like that small island of honesty that we'll give. When you're playing an RTS, you think management problem or passion lacking on the lower working level? They aimed too broad, and they're in denial of the fact that they're not at Blizzard. I also think that what they really wanted to do here was just, here's the thing, they failed to even make a game that is touching the heels of StarCraft 2. Now you might say, oh, but they don't have the money for all of the big budget items, then why did you aim there? Why did you do that? If you know that $40 million or $25 million isn't enough to actually do this, then why did you do it in the first place? You had to have known, and they didn't. It was their hubris. It was their idea that, oh, well, StarCraft 2 did all these things, and we've learned so much in the meantime. We could definitely do that better. I, I, Here's how bad it is. Let me explain this to you. If for some reason, right, and I do have sympathy for your position, and I'm talking to you individually, anybody who is at Frost Giant Studios who is reading this, I do have sympathy for you and for your position, because you are probably not going to have a job in 6 months, is the way that it looks right now. And someone is going to get fired and hours are going to get reduced because there's not enough of a player base to sustain the roadmap that I suggested. I don't know how long the investment is going to last, but it's probably not going to be enough for that to happen. I'm sure that this is not the release that you wanted, and some people there did work really hard and put in some insane hours and deal with situations we will probably never find out about, because that is the nature of startups, right? I do have sympathy for that. But what it looks like, and I want you to take this with, like, listen to this and have it, like, go into your fucking heart, okay? This game looks like you wanted to prove that you could do StarCraft 2 without being part of Blizzard. And unfortunately, the truth is, the execution and what was put out makes it look like whatever you left at Blizzard or Activision Blizzard was what was responsible for making sure that what you put out the first time was successful, right? I don't know if that's because the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I don't know if that's because some of the people who made these deep design decisions, right, weren't there. I don't know if that's because the middle managers, the unsung middle managers, were actually heroes and were stopping people from overscoping, or making sure driving people, like driving the whip to make sure people got done. But the end result is that this looks like someone trying to make StarCraft 2, and in your effort to prove that you could do it, you've just proven that you were unable to do it. Right, and it makes the people that you left look better. This is actually a very expensive marketing campaign to make Activision Blizzard look better. Like, that's the scale of the failure. So, yeah, 1v1 I don't have a problem with the theming. I do have a problem with the controls. I do have a problem with the fact that we can't rebind hotkeys, and that 1v1 and that replays are terrible. And that 1v1 was obviously focused, and everyone's in denial of the fact that it was focused, because the devs didn't literally say the word fuck non 1v1, you get good scrubs, and so everyone is incapable of reading between the lines. But that's fine. My last name is Reed. I'm always reading between the lines. Next one, campaign. Here's the thing. I don't care that the gameplay is I don't care that the writing and the theming and the story is derivative. I don't. The problem is that the quality of the writing is bad. The quality of the writing is really fucking terrible. And you know, that's an easy one for people to say. So let me give you a couple of examples of why it's bad, right? So Amara is the leader of a special forces unit, right? And for some reason, she has both the main girl, like, cross slash here, and also the I'm definitely evil scar slash over here, right? Not very subtle. Second thing is that, like, let's look at the characters. So Amara is unlikable and someone we're rooting for to fail, and the game forces me to be successful with her all the time. And I think she is a terrible leader and has a terrible personality, and nothing about her, the only thing I want to see in her adventure, nothing would have made me happier than for her to, you know what would have made my day? Honestly, this is how unlikable Amara is as a character. I wanted to get to the end of Mission 6, have Thronos challenge Malak, and then in the cutscene, Malak fucking kills her and steals Thronos. And that's the end of her story. I fucking despise this character. Like, Jar Jar Binks is on a higher tier level than the likability of this person who's supposed to be a leader. She maintains none of the characteristics of being a leader, and she treats the other people around her like shit, so she's unenjoyable. Barkley is doing his best as bad Uther. The problem is that his relationship with Amara is weird, because Uther was actually junior to Arthas, because Arthas is the prince, but he is senior to Arthas because he's level 10 of the Paladin of the Silver Hand. He's at the top of the Paladinic order that Arthas is entering into as level 1. So there's this idea of, like, positional authority that Uther is older, wiser, and there's something to learn. Also, Barclays and Blockade's story gets completely wrecked because part of his introduction in co-op is, wow, one of the few people who remembers before the breach, except lore-wise it only happened 20 or 30 years ago, judging by Amara's age, unless she stepped into a pool of of infinite life. So the breach only happened 20, 30 years ago, and Riker's literally on his team and also appears to be older than him. So Barclay doesn't look like he's actually done too much more. He also is introduced as being borderline subordinate and friendly to Amara, which not only undercuts Amara, but makes him look pretty bad. Also, he is the victim of a couple of memes right now where in mission 1 he jumps out into a bridge and then spins to help you, and on higher difficulties gets focused by all the mobs and dies. Yeah, great. That's fucking fantastic. I love that. I love how he's deferential to Amara in mission 1, and then he is aggressive towards her in mission 2, and then we're supposed to treat it like a big betrayal or a shock when she tells him to fuck off in mission number 6 because she doesn't want to save Riker. Riker is the best character in the entire thing, but he's treated like garbage because he is not supposed to be the viewpoint powerful character. But these are all like very broad things. Let's talk about some minor things, right? Here's just a history of some minor things. You ready? When you go into the North Path in Mission 1, there is an NPC named Dorothy. When you get to Mission 6, the bonus objective is to use an item called a DOROTHY and use it and drop it in front of a twister in a reference to Wizard of Oz. Right, Twister and Wizard of Oz. Are they the same character? Is there any relationship? No, I guess we don't know. Somehow the characters know who the villain is at the top of Mission 1 without that ever being introduced. Somehow Amara in Mission 1 has to get dropped off so that we can learn basic RTS controls, and yet so we can't be with the rest of the group. This would be very fine, except for the fact that we actually have to meet Riker and Blockade going forward into the same Mission 1. So we actually got left by ourselves stranded in enemy territory to go do things by ourselves, only to find them 1/3 of a mission later so that they could be with us and help us out. Why didn't we travel as a group in the first place? Let's see. The fact that the way that everything is written disappears way too quickly from the cutscenes. All of the items are way worse than they should be. The tooltips is part of the writing. The extra notebooks and items, also part of the writing. Really terrible. Here's an example. We were introduced with this cinematic, or with this unit briefing, this mission briefing, that shows that like Trip, the AI, can perceive how many people are somewhere based on where they are by thermal scan, and they can detect heat signatures. Yet I'm supposed to believe that Trip can't detect what direction the caravan went, and also for that matter, we could drop off and get picked up pretty easily by Trip in this giant Falcon item. So why can't we just fly over there if we know that we're looking for these people in the first place? They don't seem to have big anti-air weapons, so why aren't we doing that? Malak in Mission 5 just fucking appears in the cavern with you, which makes no sense because the only way that he could have gotten into the cavern with you is if he had managed to gotten in and destroyed all of your bases and gone into the dig site that you went. If he's able to get in there and he didn't go to the dig site, can he teleport? If he could teleport, why didn't he just go into the location? Does he need to judge a biological signal? If he needs to judge a biological signal, why didn't he judge the woman who was held up by Major Galt, right? Major Galt's writing is terrible and sounds like the kind of shit that wouldn't impress a kid in middle school. Let's see. Yeah, Amara, there's a million things. There's a million things about the writing that are bad. I could be here for an hour. I could be here for another hour just explaining all of the logical inconsistencies and the failure of world building that we could find inside of the writing itself. And it's not because the story is derivative. It's because the writing is bad. It doesn't you can tell very clearly that so this is the kind of thing that I see in fan fiction on fanfiction.net, the pit of vols itself, right? I saw this on Guy Online. I saw this on fanfiction.net. I saw this on Writer's Window. There's a very different feel between people who make the world first and people who make the plot first. And all of the characters, the biggest problem they have is that they feel like they are a fucking instrument to get run through the world building to make a plot happen. Their whole purpose is to get fed, like force-fed, sped run through a plot, right? Not to be in the plot, not to take action in the plot, but to just be like a vehicle for stuff to happen. And yes, this is the point where the derivative writing is a problem, because it feels a lot like you're trying to recapture the magic of Warcraft 3 and you haven't crafted any of the magic yourself. Right? That's the biggest problem with the campaign, is the writing. Also, the fact that Amara is bad to control. How did you give a character who is the head of a special ops unit who has very highly evasive maneuvers just a straight damage bonus for holding still? Is that compelling? Did anyone think that was compelling? right? Oh, no, wait, well, it's actually better than that because she has an incredibly late attack point. She pulls out her guns, starts to fire. You literally hear, oh, but if you turn her too quickly, even though the bullets have been shot out of her gun, the bullets don't hit anything. So you're supposed to micro her with exos and these specialist units and go A-move things. Oh, but wait, you can't do that because her attack point is almost as bad as the fucking Hellborn's. So she doesn't get to do her AoE damage. So you have to separately control her in your newbie-friendly RTS to make sure that she has the effectiveness of a basic unit. Sound. Items are terrible. The maps aren't very well designed. What I mean by the maps aren't very well designed is that the maps are linear, don't reward exploration. Now you could say, well, the whole point is that this is like Deltarune by Toby Fox. The whole plot is on rails, and that's the whole thing that we're going for. Well, you haven't conveyed that very well either. So if you're looking for exploratory items, which it looks like you are, because in Mission 1 you have different patches of grass and dirt and trees that you can maneuver through, and you can get shit. Again, another thing that I did better. Fuck, like, nothing against Jibs, but like, I did this better. Okay? Mission 2 of the LittleWarGame campaign, there is an area to the left part of the center of the map. It is behind a church, which you are trained to go to and to find because they've been dropping units to help you out, right? They have been giving, there's priests there, there's workers there. Sometimes there's combat units. If you destroy this church that doesn't give you anything, you go back into an area that looks like it has drag marks through it and has a bunch of gravestones set up and is actually a eulogy written, carved in the center of one of the gravestones to the name of the town called Yoitz. There is no gameplay benefit for going there whatsoever. Pure storytelling. Literally a center of the map. Just there for storytelling. You're even allowed to skip it. I don't force you to go do it. Fucking... Oh, wait, what? Wait, I need to see this. Consciously, I need to see this. I need to see this so I can just fucking see that. That's great. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Like, how do you fuck up exploration that badly? How is that possible? I literally spent, like, a month of my free time for free to make a more explorable set of 4 maps. And you don't even have exploration in 2? What? And you dare to say that this is Warcraft 3? Does anyone remember playing Warcraft 3? Do you know what Warcraft 3 was? You get in there with Thrall, and he's got a bunch of grunts, and he's like, an ogre. We would have a fierce battle on our hands if the beasts weren't sleeping. Yeah, if you could message that to me consciously in Discord, that would be great. So here's the thing, right? In the Warcraft 3 campaign, when you get access to Thrall and you hear the narrator break immersion, it's not diegetic at all. In order for Thrall's forces to defeat these foul creatures, he's talking about Murlocs, there's literally trees that, if you hug them, go into a corner. And there's a potion of health, which is important because heroes stack items in this game. And you can go here and get a ring of protection +1. And you can go over to here and you can find like a small orb or something like that. And like a crown of kings. And then there's a thing for armor mitigation. And oh wow, there's a fucking thing for AoE healing, right? 150 health to all of your stuff. Like, so I get to explore in this introductory mission when I have control of no units, no base building, and it's not even nearly as good. I could fucking destroy this game by bringing up Rexar's campaign, but that was given extra time and attention because it was a proto-test for World of Warcraft. Was this given an attention for proto-test for World of Warcraft? Absolutely not. Wait, this isn't the tutorial. This isn't the campaign. Boo, that's not the campaign. I'll show you the campaign after I fix the change they made to 5.0. So the point is, the campaign is derivative. It has bad writing. It refers to a game that was greatly dwarfed it in terms of world building, dwarfs it in terms of gameplay, exploration, themes are on point. Here's one, I can give you one thing. This bit of writing is better in the campaign of Warcraft 3 than any writing item in the entirety of the purchasable Stormgate world. You ready? Arthas is a paladin. He starts with footmen. And his first ability is Holy Light. Now, what happens? Oh, it is? Okay, sick. Now, here's the part that makes that genius. Arthas is a really cool dude in the campaign. When he's level 1 and you're in that area and he goes to attack an enemy, he goes from like, for honor, for my father, the king. You know, what does he say? Foul knave, you are past redemption. So you immediately, oh, he's a paladin. And he does care about his people because he chose to start with the Holy Light spell. Oh shit, so he lets other people do the fighting, but he's like the key player behind the fighting, right? He's like a supportive leader, right? And he really cares about his people. And the second combat is joined, he is a bloodthirsty monster who wants to fucking kill you. 100%. Think of what he says. You are past redemption, right? That little bit of writing, being a paladin, having Holy Light, saying you are past redemption when he fucking hits something, better writing than the entirety of the Stormgate campaign. Get absolutely wrecked. Alright, so, also the missions are short and cost $10 to have them when it doesn't need to have that cost because, you know, you could just, like, play a free RTS. Anyways, moving merrily along. Co-op. We already said co-op is a joke. Commanders cost twice as much as they do. The user interface the user interface to explain that you actually get free co-op on all commanders until level 5 is terrible. Here's another thing that's terrible about co-op that the 1v1 people won't tell you because most of them haven't played as much as I have. The level scaling from 1 to 5 seems to follow its own trend, and it gets very hard to go from levels 4 to 5. Guess what happens as soon as you hit level 6? When you're level 6, that means you've bought the co-op commander. Do you know what that means? We're going to speed you through the level progression. It's going to be really hard for you to get from 1 to 5 because you might be a free player. We want to extend the warranty on this free gameplay. We want you to feel like you're getting a good value out of it. But as soon as we know you're level 6, oh buddy, we're going to speed the XP production so you can get back through the entire way. Really sorry for wasting your time. So you get this really choppy co-op grinding experience where it's like, oh god, up a cliff of fucking, oh, actually it's fun. What? So you make it hard for the free players and then dumpster the paid players. How is this game gonna make money? Oh, just campaign and co-op, by the way. Fucking brilliant. I already said it's impossible to see what's going on when the attack waves get big enough. The balance, by the way, is trash. The balance is fucking appalling for co-op. Let me explain why. When you have a level 11 Amara, she solos multiple things on Annihilation. When you have a level 11 Blockade, he's a pretty good tank. When you have a level 1 Malik, the Effigy ability for the top bar ability literally tanks everything because it's got 500 health and, again, I've helped make editors. I've helped make this shit, so I knew what I was looking for. The AI prioritizes buildings, but if it sees units, it prioritizes units over the buildings. Do you know why it prioritizes Blockade's turret and the effigy from Malik? Because those buildings are treated as units. So they get priority. So Malik, the AoE Infernal co-op commander, can completely diff everything because he just has a 500 hit point. Hey, how's it going, Pekka? How's it going, Ads Treffy? So Malik gets a 500. He gets for like 15 energy or something like that, a 500 health point effigy that has the effect of AoE taunt the entire army into attacking it so that your units are basically shielded for the entire thing, which is better defenses than Blockade literally ever gets. So fucking nailed it on that one. You did a fantastic job. But what about Aralana? Remember how you were told 1v1 wasn't prioritized? Guys, it's not that 1v1 was prioritized. It's just that every single thing that's good about Celestials is only good about them in 1v1 and fucking terrible in co-op. It's all terrible. Oh, the Kree are really powerful. The tier 1.5 unit that rolls and destroys workers. There's no workers in co-op. What about the Argent? It does a really good job. It has huge damage. It does 16 damage. That's right. I fucking know the numbers. Doubt my fucking knowledge base. It does 16 damage. It does bonus against heavy whenever it's fully energized. How do I get more energy? Oh, you'd have to go back to your base. Have you seen how big the co-op maps are? Listen, don't ask about that. But I have a top bar ability. It's really good at killing creeps. Okay. That's sick. What's the impact of creeps on Brutal Plus? Oh, minimal compared to 1v1. Okay, that's sick. Yeah. Oh, Aralana? Yeah, definitely made for co-op. Definitely Celestial was made for that. What about AoE? Oh, actually, you just don't have big enough AoE and do enough damage to stop attack waves. I'm sorry. What about Sabers? Sabers are pretty good. I mean, they just got buffed in the recent patch. Well, actually, it's fantastic because Aralana in co-op doesn't get the Saber. Why would you want the Saber? That's a shit unit. We're going to give you the Cryo Tank, baby. We're going to turn your Siege Tank into a thing that does slows and gives 2 damage per shot. Yeah, guys, that's because we know what people want in a high level or any level of co-op. But Aralana is really stacked. You can revive your hero over and over. Okay, so let's see what Aralana is competing with, shall we? Malak can AoE the entire thing and uses effigy to break the entire mode into 15 pieces. Blockade can actually shield any of the objectives that he wants forever because his shield only costs 10. And also he gets an Exo that has a better Exo upgrade than fucking... Yeah, he gets an Exo ability for pure Luminite instead of Therium, and his Lancer becomes a Crusader who does bonus damage, and then he gets access to a medtech. Now, let's talk about Blockade's medtech. Did you know that if Blockade gets the adept training for his medtech and the medtechs use too much of that ability that gives plus 50 armor to your units or allied units and minus 50 armor to enemy units, it actually causes frame drop and then makes it impossible to finish the game because the game crashes. But we definitely care about co-op, guys. What about WarZ? Oh, yeah. Do you like the scaling on his scythe? It's fucking sick, isn't it? Good thing it's literally better than anything Aralana can do. Also, he's the one that was, had all the problems that everyone was paying for. Yeah. Cryo Tank doesn't do the goofy freeze to one shot. Yeah, exactly. No, they literally got in. How do you get investment funding from Riot Games / Tencent and you are making a Cryo Tank and you don't go like, have you seen Sejuani? That's a pretty fucking cool mechanic. Can we use that? No, of course not. That would require being honest about the fact that League of Legends is a well-designed game. Yeah, crazy. What about the objectives? Oh, don't worry, guys. Missions are and Amara. Yeah. You could just solo Annihilation. Why? Because she can do literally a triple jump, and she can make a clone of herself, go invisible, do spread AoE damage, and if she ever needs to do damage, she just presses X and holds it. Now, how do we actually manage to make co-op an engaging experience? I know, let's spawn waves based on a number of destructible bases that are left, instead of purely based on time or threat level. We could look at other excellent PvE games like Deep Rock Galactic with the, with the Aquamarines, the blue orbs, right? Where that game mode is made so that the longer you're in there, the faster the attack waves spawn. That would be sick. Oh, but wait, actually, co-op is just a DPS race. Whoever has the most DPS bursts out the thing, and if you kill a tower or a structure, you actually lower the number of structures that are left. You know what's crazy about that? That means that if you have a early game hero, you get infinite advantage over having a more supportive hero, because the early game co-op hero literally reduces the number of attack waves and makes it easier to take everything else on the map, because everything scales down in difficulty as you destroy things as the map progresses, but it only scales up if you're already losing. What? So I hope you like tension. Because the last time I saw tension look this bad was in Dragon Ball Z. That's a tension Han joke, by the way. So yeah, don't worry, guys. Co-op, definitely one of our main pillars, focused and prioritized. But it wasn't purely about that. It was also casual game modes. All right, I'll fucking play your silly game. When's 3v3 coming? Well, don't you see, Atano? They actually came up with a roadmap, and the roadmap says that we're going to be coming out with 3v3 earlier this year, as opposed to eventually. So the primary marketing of this game was that it was a co-op, new player-friendly RTS. You were going to make concessions because you didn't want to be StarCraft 2. That's part of the reasons the time to kill is what it is. By the way, you fucked that up too, because if you want low time to kill, don't add additive damage. For anyone who doesn't get what I mean by that. Okay, if you have a damage set and you want low time to kill, and your purpose is to make fights last longer and for there to be more micro, It is counterintuitive to that to make it, oh, but yeah, actually this unit does bonus damage. Do you know why the Dragoon feels different from the Stalker? Right? Engine and everything else and decades of game design experience and Brood War versus StarCraft 2, blah, 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 blah. Here's the real reason. The Dragoon does full damage and it starts doing less damage because there is a negative armor type in StarCraft Brood War. That means that fights go longer the more that you have their counters. The longer that you have a unit's counter in terms of having the unit type that takes less damage against it, the longer micro is allowed to happen because damage is lowered. Meanwhile, what about StarCraft 2? Additive. Yeah, low time to kill doesn't take, and long battles equals high to kill. Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. Well, what I'm saying is that you are making the time to kill lower. You are making it easier to kill people when you have an additive damage type, as opposed to when you have a negative damage type. The Dragoon is doing less damage when it hits Marines, but the Stalker is doing more damage when it hits Marauders. And the difference between those two is why the time to kill is one of the major reasons the time to kill feels the way that it does. Right? Not that any of that matters or is balanced in co-op, by the way. Also, I'm not the target audience for this, but big problem with co-op for me. I fucking hate queuing into a game and being told that for reasons entirely unrelated to my skill, I instantly lose. So, you know that Turf War map? Yeah, I fucking hate queuing into that map as brutal and being told, well, you don't have a level 11 anything, so get fucked completely. You shouldn't have even queued into it. I was literally playing with people. One of the people, you know that guy who made a post who was like, I've gotten 15 levels on every co-op commander. God bless that person. Really, they needed a relief or something like that. I asked them like, oh, so I'm like 1700 MMR at the time. I've played, I've been diamond in some or the equivalent in other RTS games. What can I do on Turf War if I have a low level character? Is there like some secret sauce? Is there some like juggling thing that I could do? And they just said, lol, no. Okay. Great game mode. I'm sure casuals would love to just be told you instantly get queued into a game mode that has a 1 in 6 chance of rolling a mission that you have no chance of beating irrespective of your skill. You really should have just gotten lucky and let the random number generator not hit that mission, which is to say nothing of the fact that the missions are poorly designed because they all favor DPS and there's no such thing as a defensive, there's no such thing as either a defensive or a scouting or a sneak or anything like that. It's just a DPS race all the way down. Great game mode. Okay. Oh, and co-op, so co-op barely exists and is a foul imitation and double price imitation. Double price with a third of the heroes or a quarter of the heroes of StarCraft 2, which I need remind you is also free. I don't even like co-op in StarCraft 2 because I had the same problem. Just pick the highest difficulty and be a player who is ever diamond and you're just perfectly fine. You're schmooving, but it still wasn't doing it for me, and I really gave it a try in Stormgate. I even bought WarZ. Yeah, that's right. I fucking got all the content. And then let's talk about the editor. Oh, wait, we can't because the browser game made a decade ago has an editor and has made literally so many maps that it is reaching the limit of the map space for the application in question. Let me just see. I'm pretty sure they have they don't have Pekka. Are you ready for the most social RTS ever that doesn't have friends, private messaging, clans, main lobby chats, or custom lobby conversations? Or how about the one where it's built in UE5 with Snowplay, which is the proprietary engine, which doesn't exist yet, by the way? Yeah, it doesn't exist. LittleWarGame has a better editor than them, and LittleWarGame's editor is worse than fucking StarEdit from 1998. You know how I know? Because I made shit in StarEdit. You know how hard it was to make some of those RPG maps? Fucking insane. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's been 2 hours and 43 minutes, but we're not done yet. We have the last fucking bit to go. We have the last fucking death knell to wish upon or to give to people who have wished upon it themselves. This one, and then we'll end it on a high note. And I do have a genuine high note to end on. Here's the hopium, guys. The game released and had less than 5k players from the most invested community of gamers that I have ever known outside of maybe the 4-panel rhythm game players. Right? I'm sorry, the average RTS player is not making their own cabinet the way that fucking psychopaths in the rhythm game community are, but they're pretty invested, and they spent $25 to support you. And then the game went free to play, and all the things I talked about that made the game free or made the game low quality got fucking hit upon. And guess what? You still had less. You had less when the game went free than you did when the game was $24.99. It's over. Like, it's not coming back. The main keys to get it back in Steam are gone. It's been released and it's been cost reduced, and you can't get 20% below free. There's no big streamer coming to save it. You've already had pick who you want, right? Do you want like strong players? We've already had like Nina SE2 and Winter Gaming and Youth Thermal and Grubby, and I'm pretty sure Hearthstone, and we have other pros that are playing as well, right? We've had the large tournaments. We've had thousands of dollars given away, foreign destination vacation locations to hit hundreds of viewers. There's nothing left. It's over. The only way that this is possibly coming out is if only half the budget of the 40 proposed million has actually come out, and there's 20 million left and it's in the bank. But then you have to ask yourself a question that fucking nails that opinion dead on the floor, which is, if that's the case and they have half of their war chest yet left, or even a quarter of the war chest left, and they just are doing this because they think it was close, why would they release the game this way? In all the puff piece articles where I saw people say, actually, I saw Tim Morton and other people say the game is expected to have these mixed reviews. It's expected to be in this state. We expect that people don't understand what early access means for them and us is different. If that was a real line of thinking, if that was real critical thought, if that was your actual belief, then why would you release it? If you've got $10 million sitting inside of a bank account somewhere, why wouldn't you just sit, go home, make more? Spend 5 more, 6 more months making it, and then have $4 million left and then release. And so I think, unless you think they're the most incompetent people you've ever met in your life, who have no business acumen and have no idea what a budget is, and have fundamentally fucked up the entire thing by misunderstanding, there's only one real explanation. They are not going to have money to hit 1.0 otherwise. That's it. And they've only gained $1.5 million since release. Now, I will say that sounds better than it is because it's $1.5 million, but keep in mind, the game wasn't free to play for the entire time. For the first week of the game, from about August 3rd onward to the 10th, right, for the first week, you had to pay money or have someone give you a key to be able to be in so that you could get the money to play the game. That was a huge amount of revenue. We had 5,000 people playing when there were $25 to get in, right? And who knows what they bought on top of it. The game has gone free to play, and it didn't have the player explosion, which means it's not having the people buy in at the rate necessary. Even if 10% of the people in the game right now were buying cosmetics, they're not getting enough money. Gaining $1.5 million on release isn't good enough when the game is probably burning through that a month, right? And even if you restrict its budget to half of what it's been, maybe $1.5 million is 3 additional months of funding that they didn't otherwise have. And they can limp towards it. But they have to have amazing content now out the door and amazing updates out the door. And what's the update schedule? We should have a new content update by the end of September. 6 to 8 weeks after release, after full release. That's the update cadence, is once every 2 months, once every 6 weeks. Where are the extra people going to come in? Is the new content update going to be so good that it's going to put this to 10,000 players, to 30,000 players, to 100,000 players, to 5,000 players? Another number they haven't hit, by the way. I don't think it is. I don't think there's enough left, right? You can just see that you can put enough trust in these people that they wouldn't have released the game if they had enough money to get all the way through. Oh, sure, yeah, I haven't tried it. I'll give it a shot, right? And the thing is that it's not a worthy successor of StarCraft 2. It's not a word. I saw someone say, well, I expected StarCraft 3, but really it's StarCraft like 1.5. You can get that shit out of your mouth as well. This isn't even StarCraft 0.5, guys. It is missing features that LittleWarGame, as a browser game made by a single dude, has had for a decade. Nothing of it is good. The people who are the most invested are the 1v1 players. And what is the damned faint praise that they have to say? It's actually good if you play a lot of it. But yeah, they will in private, if not in public, acknowledge, especially if they're a more known individual, they will acknowledge all of the points that I have made about the pathfinding and about the APM requirements, about how creep camps feel a bit wonky, and about how the balance is a bit of a concern, and the whole thing feels extremely derivative. And the problem with all of this, too, is that I just don't think that they're going to make it, guys. I don't see how they're going to get the players back, even if they literally double the amount of content in the game and have a huge moment of explosion. How are they going to get, what vessels do they have to get more people back in? All of the legacy RTS people, the StarCraft 2, some of the Age of Empires 2 and 4 people, and the WarCraft 3 people have come, and they're gone. They're just not here anymore. The numbers have been going down on Twitch, and they've been going down on the game. Like, it's not happening, right? I want to believe that it would. I started this thing, if you go back in the VOD, about 3 hours ago, explaining that I've played like 450 ranked games, and I helped the tournament cycle. I did all of these things to help make the game better for players. I took time off of work to go play the game and study it and look it up, and I watched all of the content live, and I went back and analyzed it, and I made content and deliverables for other people that they've enjoyed, and I've talked to a bunch of people. It's just not happening. And that's where I actually want to end on this note, right? And this is probably the most somber note, because I just said it's not happening. I think it's going to die. I don't think it's going to make it to 1.0 release. I think it's just dead in the water. It's treading, but the waves are coming in, and the moon is rising, right? The tide is vicious. And also, by the way, the nail in the coffin, you're going to be fighting off against Age of Mythology Retold, not Age of Mythology Remastered, which would have all these legacy RTS problems, but Age of Mythology Retold, which is a known good formula remade to have a very compelling difference that doesn't necessarily over-reward the more experienced and legacy people, right? Sins of a Solar Empire 2 had fucking 13k people. It's not an RTS. Well, this isn't what the market wants. You can say both. So this is the note I want to end on. Everything that I have said, now, I don't want this to be misinterpreted, so I'll try and be precise. You should have compassion and understanding, from my perspective at least, of the people who were invested. And what I mean is, the people who were in the Alpha Navigator Cups and the tanks, the people who were organizing the tournaments, the people, even from everyone that's, immediately springs to mind, like Artosis and Tasteless, all the way down, right? Everyone who's casted the game, watched the game, talked about the game, hyped the game, streamed it using their valuable free time and hours, tried to get extremely good at it, make guides for it, make news posts and YouTube channels for it, make supplementary websites like LuminiteGG and Stormgate World, right? All of these people put in a lot of free time and extra hours, and were not able to change the game because that's not their job, that's not in their wheelhouse. And I don't begrudge any of them that wanted this game to succeed and want this game to like really pop off and be the thing that they can stake their name to, and they can put their claim to, and they can make it in a content space, or be rewarded for legacy skills that they haven't been rewarded for in about 5 years. There's a lot of doomerism right now about, will there even be a giant StarCraft 2 tournament like what happened at EWC, right? And I understand the will and desire of all those people, and I am not saying any of this to say, yeah, actually, fuck those people in particular. I don't want them to have money. I think they should be fucking broke. They should just not have any content. They should not have any fame. They should not make any money. And it's all cynical bullshit all the way down. Because I was part of those people. I didn't make it. I'm not as large a name as some of those people. But I obviously put in my time and effort and energy and money and freedom and willpower and a bunch of other things that took more than I thought. because I wanted this game to be very successful. I wanted to come in and be like, well, guys, it's just fucked, because there's literally, I just checked the global rankings, and there's literally 1.2 million people better than me, and I'm just so fucking tired of playing against these tryhards that came from insert game I'd never heard of before, right? I want the problem that co-op people have for co-op is, yeah, co-op is the fucking best game ever, actually, and it's a fucking insane value proposition, but I can't stand the fact that there's only 5 of them. Why don't they have 10? Right? I want people to have an editor where they can just bring in the craziest shit like Little Warlocks and Footman Frenzy and fucking Dota and make their own tower defenses and do a bunch of crazy shit, make their own campaigns and, do what Minecraft streamers have done for fucking decades now and be like, all right, guys, I've made this cool new thing over here. Let me show you some editor maps, tips, and tricks. And here's what we're doing. I want there to be map creation contests, right? And people fucking putting in their own new campaigns and their own new factions and new races. And I want all these people to make it. I want this game to make it. Like, one of the reasons I don't criticize 1v1 that much, even though it does have pathing issues. And I think the way it is created is directly against Stormgate, Frost Giant Studios' stated goal of creating a more casual, accessible RTS. The time to kill feels exactly like LittleWarGame, right? That is my home game and has been for a decade, right? It feels cool to come in and have metagame knowledge about a game that didn't exist before everyone else, because I could say like, hey guys, did you know Atlas drops are good because they two-shot exos, and because the way the Luminite ore like stacks up, it's actually the same way that catapults work in LittleWarGame. I would love to be able to say that. Part of why I got the early start that I did is I just used LittleWarGame builds and then changed them up a little bit as I realized what the creep camps did. And then, only then when I started getting stuck, I started looking up what other people did. And oops, spoilers, that was after I was already top 500. But yeah, don't be an asshole to any of the people who are trying to make this work, right? Or who are getting paid especially to make this work, because you don't want to be the person who's trying to take money out of people's like mouths. And I don't want any of this to be, I'm very animated and I feel the things that I said, but I don't want any of the people at Frost Giant to lose their jobs. I don't want any of the people who are trying to make it as pros or who were name dropped by Kevin in the balance update for doing so well in the tanks to not have a game that they can use their skills in, right? I don't want the Stormgate oriented channels to just die on the vine and get fucked, peasant, because you actually don't deserve to have any ad revenue. How dare you have hope and dare to dream? You missed the boat in 2010. I don't want that for any of those people. So don't take this as an opportunity to go shit on them, right? That's not appropriate. Because at the end of the day, even though I'm not on the same height of the totem pole, I was trying to be on the same totem pole. So anything that you say about them, you're basically saying about me. So I also wanted it to work. It's just not going to happen. I would love to be wrong. I would love in 6 months to come back and say, actually, all the ways, let's go over a fucking 7-hour stream as I go over my 3-hour video from the stream and from YouTube and explain all of the things that were fucking terrible about my analysis. And I should have just intuited that it was going to be the best thing ever. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's got too many flaws, right? I don't think that I'm going to spend time explaining on the Reddit why things are bad or what could be changed. I'm not going to be one of those doomer people who's like, hey, look at this, guys. You've actually dropped like 1.2% in the last 15 seconds about the fucking total player count. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, do the things that make you happy and then be all in on the things that you want to practice and excel at and be good at, because that's actually how you get there. But that also means if you're not willing to do it, if you don't have the energy, you just stop. Just go find greener pastures, I guess. So, I mean, with that, this is my last Stormgate stream. I don't see any way, unless it's like, I fucked up, super apology video. I don't see how it's going to work. And I'm not saying this from the perspective of go play Battle Aces or some other game like that, right? I even got an invite for that game and I didn't play it because I was trying to make content for this game. That doesn't mean I hate Battle Aces either, right? As somebody once said, and I'll keep it vague for reasons, I do want traditional RTSs to succeed. I just worry that for whatever reason, some combination of creativity, cultural zeitgeist, and market forces, I think the best ones are behind us, especially because a lot of people were putting their hats on maybe this one being the exception that proves it wrong. So yeah, that's all there is to say. If you guys got anything you want to throw in as comments, like to mention or react to, you could definitely do that. But I just think it's out. I think it's done. No? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Well, guys, it's 3 hours. That was easy to make because there's a lot of complaints, but not fun to make, even if I was smiling and having a good time at parts of it. The Starfield of RTS games. There is a Cope right now on the Reddit that it's the No Man's Sky of RTS games, the Cyberpunk 2077 of RTS games. And I don't think the people who are making that comparison are doing it in good faith because they know that they don't know the install base or the starting position of those games. They know they don't know it. And so to say that it's equivalent because it's starting with a 5K base is ridiculous, especially since it's not at 5K anymore. And I think the team would celebrate if they woke up tomorrow and saw 5K people playing actively. There's nothing else more to say. This video's going to be 3 hours long, and probably going to put it on YouTube, see what people have to say. Can't wait for my points to get wrecked and taken out of context. But I think the thing that I am hoping to wait out, but inevitably will happen, is just 6 months from now, something like 6, 9, 12 months from now, there will just be a very quiet murmur, a release into 1.0 to fulfill any contractual or legal obligations, regardless of the quality, and then it's done. They'll close up shop very publicly. So best of luck to the people who work at Frost Giant Studios who had any insight or attempt to stop this from being what it is. I will never know how you did that, and because of the way that companies work, I doubt that story will ever come out. But if you want to share it privately, I'd appreciate knowing it, because I do wish the best for you. And when I say privately, it's not something I'd ever share. So good luck out there to all the disaffected players and to the studio itself. We need it, and I include myself in that. All right, that's it.